Cruz, he says once that happens, it can take up to 3 months before someone is completely comatose and unconscious. So it's very rapid, 3 months.
So you just get sick and you die.
Correct. That's exactly what he says.
And tell people who Dr. Cruz is. I looked him up pretty prestigious.
So Dr. Cruz is a neuroscientist, a neurosurgeon, who's very well known.
Show B-roll, guys. We played a clip yesterday.
Yeah. And he basically was angry because of Rockefeller medicine taking over, and he was lied to when he went to med school. He learned that everything that he was taught was not the truth. And so he's a truth seeker, and a very, very intelligent truth seeker. And I don't say that about very many people who I encounter in life. And he really woke me up. If you can go to drcruz.com and look at his work, and he's not shy about it. He shares it with everyone. And this is what he wants to do. He's worried about his children. He's worried about humanity. But what do you do in the circumstances when you know this? And like I said,
but that's why the globalists are all building bunkers and everything.
Correct, yeah. He said he couldn't sleep for 3 days prior to us coming there because he looked at the data and he says it's there in our face now. And he says the globalists and the elites have known this, and he says this is what they're planning for. They're planning to triage the entire globe. This is why they want to track you. This is why all of this system was...
When did they first know the magnetic field was going to collapse?
Well, we've been tracking...
Since the 60s, they've been saying we got to kill everybody.
Yeah, well, we've been tracking this, and he says over the last 20 years...
Because again, billions dying is going to be messy.
Correct. Over the last 20 years, the shift is equal to what the Earth has done in 160 million years. That's how rapid the change is right now.
And why is it happening?
He says that what the space is sending a different signal in, and that signal is somehow affecting Earth. But he says because everything is an algorithm that works together, and something has changed.
Basically, the solar winds have changed.
Correct. Everything has changed, and it's affecting Earth. And it's just a natural transition. This is why he says this is now going to be a 6th extinction event. And Earth, this is not the first time this has happened on our planet. This is just another natural thing that is going to happen.
And if you've got billions of people running around starving to death, it's going to be wars and messy. They just want to get rid of us up front.
Yes.
Yes. Matt Hazen, comments.
Yeah, for the people that can't afford bunkers or to move to these safe zones or they're unaware, the most important thing, and their end game, is to be able to get out this internal system faster than it's coming in and disabling it. And that's what my part of it, that's my wheelhouse that I worked with Dr. Robert Young on to create this formula. He unfortunately was taken out by Big Pharma brutally. There was actually a really good documentary that a very popular documentarian, Mickey Willis, did on behalf of him just to try to help him. We actually have a video of that to show, a very short one. But he basically jumped on board with me when he was looking at this formula. He seen that it could get the graphene and synthetic silicon out of people's bodies, and we began the work on that before they now have him in prison. So there's a lot of emotion that's been going on.
I'll throw it. I saw this documentary on. So you didn't just learn this as scientists. For zeolites, they're totally legal in sea salt.
Yeah, zeolites are an amazing binding substance. Natural zeolites, of course. Wherever, if they're big, whatever size, depends on how deep it's going to go into the body, but it's going to do some good no matter what.
Now, yours are really little.
It's a lot different. Yeah, what we're talking about doing is dissolving microscopic or micrometer size, micronized zeolite down to the picometer size, which is even smaller than the nanometer size. And so now you take minerals, the healthiest, most popularly molecular terrestrial minerals, and you combine it with that zeolite. Now we're talking about something.
It's crazy though. They're using secret poison shots that grow all this stuff in us, and then zeolites, they're totally legal. I forgot about that. This is insane. These people are out of control.
Yeah, they are. CLPS, actually, the UK study on Masterpiece is actually a great visualization for everyone to understand what Matt's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, let's play clip 6. Here it is.
My name is Jesse Beltran. I'm the current president of an organization
Our brand is Mind Nexus Live. I've been one of the leading investigators with the phenomenon called Havana Syndrome or anomalous health incidences. I have been covering this since 2010. I am currently a certified technical counter-surveillance measures expert. I have been the lead in doing what is called nonlinear junctions scanning on individuals. This process started in the United States. Initially starts with an RF detection, and then we verify it with a nonlinear junction depending on our findings. And basically what we're finding is those who are symptomatic were lighting up at very specific focal areas around the human body and coming up positive for whatever reason for semiconductive or silicon-based materials in those areas. And that's what the nonlinear junction detector is designed to do. And we've recently started a study where we're testing non-symptomatic individuals here in the United Kingdom. They are also lighting up in those same areas as the symptomatic individuals, and that had not been the case prior to that jab. Prior to the jab, those who were non-symptomatic, almost 100% of the time, came up negative. They were coming up pretty much what I would expect a symptomatic person to come up positive. Very high, a lot of areas around the human body hitting at 100%. Where the nonlinear junction detection indicated there was silicon-based materials. They had been put on a test basis or a trial basis of Zeolite Z, or the Masterpiece product. And quite frankly, I was really surprised coming here and doing the secondary exam on these individuals who participated in the testing. There was significant reduction in the areas that were lighting up.
So the results have been absolutely phenomenal and actually better than
Stop
we
right
could
there,
have.
because the show's almost over, and I appreciate you guys staying over a day, but I want people to know there are ways to combat this. Anybody can know about zeolites, they draw toxins out, so it's a really smart thing. But people want to see all the rest of these videos and places. Where do they go to see that? Is it the same URL you gave me, getmasterpiece.com?
Yeah, you can go there.
Okay, good. I'm gonna watch the rest of it.
Absolutely. So we have a war against the people all the way to Agenda 2030. So the keystone part of that is this internal biopsy, concentrating on getting this thing out of our bodies. That's what we did the silicon-based study for. That's what the graphene says, so that we knew what we were talking about. So, yeah, I just implore everybody to take care of themselves, because it's going to take you being better, your families being better, and being able to critically think. And it's going
And do your own research. It's so important. Consult physicians about any issues you have. Jesse, we're out of time. 1 minute left. Closing comment.
Well, everyone, this is legal to duty. Non-consensual experimentation is legal right now.
U.S. Code Title 30, Chapter 33, subsection 1,520, paragraph 8.
Yeah, and so we need your help out there. For those of you watching, the best thing you can do is speak up, use your voice. Support us at this URL, stop3024.com. We need you to sign that petition. So
No, I wish we did more on this. We have to have you back. Say it again. Wish we had the URL. What is it?
stop3024.com.
Stop2034.com.
Sign that petition so that we can repeal it and make this illegal to do. That is just the first hurdle. Then we got to go after the law. But this is about your children, your grandchildren, and the future of your genealogy.
All right. Matt Hazen, Jesse Beltran, great job. Thanks for staying an extra day. We'll talk to you soon. Amazing. I was trying to spend my whole day bashing Trump for attacking me. It's not about me being attacked. It's about what's happening to him, who's around him, how do we try to get things back on track. We haven't tried. People wanted to just give up on Trump. I'm totally mad at him, exposing him, and I'm getting a response, but now we want to get his ass to listen. Harrison Smith takes over now. Stay with us.
Everything I sell you works. Obviously, that's the goal. You get it, and you like it, and you want to do it. Everything I sell to you, put deep research into, and I personally use. Now, I've been promoting zeolites for decades because they really work. I'm going to tell you what they are. Bigley, our sponsor, has a really high-quality, private label, top-selling brand, Gorilla private label, we're bringing to you right now. With unprecedented toxins in the environment, the garbage in the food, it is more important than ever to take zeolites on a regular basis, but not all zeolites are created equal. This is really a high-quality zeolite. Please do your own research, and then go to the AlexJonesStore.com and secure our high-quality zeolite formula. Now let's go over just some of the incredible facts. We're swimming in toxins every single day. Metals from the air, chemicals in the food and water. Your body needs help binding, eliminating this garbage before it builds up and destroys your cells. Enter Zeolite Detox Defense, advanced binding agent. This isn't some gimmick. Zeolite is a naturally occurring volcanic mineral with a unique cage-like crystalline structure that acts like a molecular trap. Through ion exchange and absorption, it selectively grabs positively charged toxins, heavy metals, ammonia, and other unwanted compounds while letting beneficial minerals stay put. Then it escorts them straight out of your system through your gut. Paired with folic acid, it also supports healthy mineral transport and cleaner internal environment. Users report feeling lighter, more balanced, and clear-headed with consistent daily use. Just one dose a day gives you 60 full servings of detox support. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't steer you wrong. You know that. If you love our methylene blue, if you love our bovine colostrum, if you love the other incredible products like our T3 iodine, you are going to love this Zeolite detox formula. Secure yours now at thealexjonesstore.com. And if you haven't checked out the other supplements like our methylene red that's proprietary to us, our ultramethylene blue that is on record the strongest and the best, then check it out today. And while you're there, check out the widest selection of Patriot apparel, baseball caps, t-shirts, hoodies, you name it, to spread the word of freedom in America and worldwide. Bottom line, thanks for keeping us on the air over the years. We're facing some of the biggest challenges ever to stay on the air, but thanks to you standing with us as our partners in the info war, we are stronger than ever. So thank you so much for your support. Now please visit thealexjonesstore.com today. And if you want to get massive discounts on all the supplements, sign up as a subscriber, lock in your orders in the future. You can cancel any time, so all you're really locking in is the massive discounts. Same thing with VIPs, cancel any time, $30 a month, get $40 to spend in the store, special deals, special offers, special sales on everything. So if you're buying anything at thealexjonesstore.com, you should be a VIP. Thank you so much for your support. Now secure your Zeolite formula now at thealexjonesstore.com.
I know you're the big health guy. You're way better shape than I am. Don't kick my ass. I've seen you working out with the Liver King. You say you've taken methylene blue before. I want you to take our medical grade. It takes 30 minutes to kick in. So good for your body. I'd like you to drink this, Jay. You said earlier it would. I appreciate it. I want to get your true review. It doesn't work? Tell me. Here it is, brother. Cheers. Looks just like the stuff from Doom, the water of life. He's drinking the juice of a strangled, drowned sandworm right now. Baron Harkonnen is not happy. We're going to see what happens.
20 minutes later.
I feel like my brain is clearer and working faster. It feels like my brain and my energy have had the accelerator hit on them. I felt it in my brain and my energy.
Well,
I'm gonna get me some before I leave.
We're going to give you a couple bottles of it, bro. We love it. It's amazing. Get yours now, thealexjonesstore.com.
Alright, sorry for my phone up. Alright, what does she want? Oh, so just, how's she telling you that? She just needs somebody to talk to. That'd be the only reason. Oh, same guy that she's been mad at this entire time. Oh, yeah. I don't understand it. I feel like, I don't know. I guess guys just kind of keep their emotions bottled up. Some guys work. I can't imagine, I don't know, me or even, like, taking a phone call. You know, just kind of like, yeah, you know, that's, oh, you know, this girl's been giving me problems. That's like me calling Jonathan. Yeah, me and Athens are fighting every day. For the past 2 weeks. Not really. But if we were, I still don't think I'd call anybody. Just keep it bottled in. You know, just keep it all bottled up, bottled in. Wouldn't tell anybody. Maybe I would, I don't know. Depends on what we're fighting over. But I felt like it was like we could be fighting over so much. Potential's there. I don't know. I'm not really a fighter person. I don't think you are either. Very good with the flow. Just get along tight. What was this? Oh yeah! Oh, that was fun. Oh yeah, I don't remember us getting into fights. Yeah, it's okay. It's just like, alright, I guess we're fighting or something. I forget what. Also, our fights are kind of like not so serious. Yeah, it's like we could be fighting over worse things. Let's go, go, go! Yeah. That was pretty fun. Yeah, at least we're laughing about it. Yeah. Yeah, you were mad. You were mad that night. You haven't been that mad since, I didn't show up to you, looking for apartments. Nah, that was it. That was gonna be it, huh? Yeah, so you just made up with me. I knew the wedding would save me. Oh, I thought you meant we gotta behave during the wedding. Yeah, I know you were mad. Yeah. Oh, good. Alright, well, at least I made up for it. That's good. If I didn't make up for it, then that'd be a problem, but at least I did.
What'll it be this time?
Yeah, that.
Can I help you?
Totally.
Enjoy
I
that.
didn't realize how serious.
Hey, don't mind the mess. I'd say I was in the process of cleaning it up, but that would be a lie.
Can't believe what? Oh, what was that? Oh yeah, that paper. Yeah, I remember that. I remember you were talking about that. Lame. Okay. And if you refuse, I guess you don't have a choice. Racial injustice. Well, honestly, there is racial injustice against whites. There is racial injustice there. You should write about that. The racial injustice against white people. Tons of racial injustice. I know, but that's why it's like ironic. Yeah, they'll glaze it. Yeah. That's funny. That is funny. That'd be a good one, actually. Yeah. That's like right up your lane. Yeah, it's cool to be Catholic nowadays. You know, it seems to be, you know, going in that direction. You might even have a couple of closet Catholic people in your class that are mixed race. They may take that as like a reason just to, alright, you're not taking this test seriously.
7, 4, 2, 5.
Oh, okay.
7, 4,
Well,
2, 5.
as long as like you didn't hand it in before.
2, 9, 7, 7, 0, 2.
That's fine. I'm saying if you handed it in, there's still time. You made it obvious you just didn't give a shit about the test. Like that'd be a different story. Can't believe I listened to Alex Jones for 4 hours today. Didn't learn anything. There was a bass part. It was like, today's episode, it was 2 hours in. You know, he does his usual bullshit. A lot of, I like Alex Jones. A lot of what he has is just these guys that are like, the government has alien weapons. Like that's like that. But like 2 hours in, he actually gave an ultimatum. Like, listen, Trump, don't fuck with me. I'm not your engine. Don't fuck with me. Don't send your little attack dog. Don't send Loomer. If you do, it's gonna be hell of a day. I looked over. Apparently, like, so much goes on behind the scenes. Like, remember that Alex was like getting like persecuted by the CIA, I don't know, and there was no justice. I mean, he's a public figure, but they really like tortured his family. I didn't know that. And you know, like, old saying goes is there's no rest, right? So, but that affects him personally because like, what if in your case is like someone was fucking with your husband and your kids, like CBCA students, and then your guy, you know, so your team wins, your guy gets in, and then there's no accountability, and like the lawsuits get crushed. I'd be pissed. You know, like I like that energy. He's like, listen, I'm like a rattlesnake. You don't want to fuck with me. You know. I don't know. That was cute. Oh, why? Catholics? It is a theory. What are you talking about? 100% it's a theory. What? Cello. What did he ever do to you? I love their answer. Crack was so helpful today. I was got that fucking kerfuffle. We're asking him to play Rock all these questions about like the servers and domain controllers. Like, yeah, it's spot out pretty good answers. It's pretty helpful. Oh yeah, I saw that with today. It was like we were asking about a couple things. Yeah, you know, we got the old like, because we asked it to do something that apparently would have like caused irreversible harm, and it's led off with like, whatever you do, it was dramatic. I don't forget what it was. It was like really dramatic. It was like, don't stop there right now. Don't do that. Something like that. It's like if you were to run this command, it'll corrupt the entire Active Directory and it'll be unscalable mountain. It's so funny. Rick was like showing it to me. It's like, oh my god, good thing we didn't do that. Yeah, you're right though. You're absolutely right about that. I thought you were talking about your baby.
Welcome to the
I'm such a bad influence.
Shock edition. I'm going to warn you now for all the low IQ people in the audience. This is a high IQ stream about IQ. And about high IQ for high IQ people. Tongue twister.
This game is... What happens when I don't play before games? Down there. Alright, now we wait. How you doing? Yes.
So for those of you who are on the lower end of the bell curve, this is probably going to be boring. I would ask you to leave, but I think you will self-deport because it'll just naturally be boring, or at least in the beginning. So this beginning part's not gonna. It's gonna seem like why is this playing? You're not gonna be. Not everyone's gonna be able to connect this. That's fine. It gets connected. What else? Of course it gets connected. I am your host, of course, Devin Stack, and that is what I do. Connect things. You know what else connects things? Transistors. What a segue. Oh, what a segue. Transistors. Let's talk about transistors for a moment. Now, I've mentioned how I work on old tube radio. It's kind of a pastime of mine.
Yeah. Somehow she's
I do it, especially these days, but it is something that I enjoy. The simplicity of old, well, not always, they're not always simple, but like compared to like a modern day motherboard, a vacuum tube radio is rather simple. And so it's just complicated enough to exercise your brain and just simple enough where you're not having to put a gun in your mouth after signal tracing millions of things over the current radio I'm working on. Good Lord. Anyway, that's another story. Tubes. Vacuum tubes are what everything used prior to the invention of the transistor. It's the reason why computers had to be the size of a warehouse.
Oh, it's okay.
Without
Keep
transistors,
dying. I'm
you
sorry.
wouldn't have computers. Without transistors, you would not hear the sound of my voice. Most likely, billions of transistors are passing electrons right now in order for you to hear the sound of my voice. Electron tubes, for those who don't know, they look kind of like light bulbs. Part of them functions in the same way. They have a filament, like a light bulb, and they heat up electrons. And electrons pass through a grid that is biased with voltage to affect the motion of those electrons through the grid, amplify them perhaps, But it's old technology.
Oh,
It's
good.
very old technology.
Thanks, Gemini.
Thanks to thanks to white people. Well, tubes are thanks to white people too. So it's not like, we have transistors now which accomplish many of the same things. Only instead of having to use a glass tube with a vacuum or maybe injected with some kind of gas or something so the electrons can pass through in the desired way, we now have semiconductors. We have solid state. We have solid objects instead of glass bowls full of, either nothing or some kind of gas. We have miniaturized. They do the exact same sort of a thing, right? They control the flow of electrons, and they're compressed into a tiny little, like a minute size. They use less electricity because these transistors don't have to be heated up with basically the same kind of an element that you have inside your toaster oven. I mean, that's essentially what's inside, and you know how much power the toaster oven or any kind of electrical heating element uses up. When I have a radio that I'm working on, depending on the size of the radio and how many tubes are on it, that thing's pulling like 50 to 100 watts just in standby mode. When it's just sitting there when I'm not transmitting. And all that stuff is very power hungry. So not only are transistors much smaller, but they use up a lot less electricity, which makes them mobile. I mean, imagine if a cell phone had to be operated with tubes. I mean, I guess it would be a ham radio at that point, right? You'd have to be lugging around a 100-pound fucking Collins everywhere you go.
Oh. Is that so?
Which people used to do. So anyway, why am I talking about transistors? Well, I'll tell you what. Instead of me babbling about transistors, I'm going to show you a brief clip from a film when transistors were brand new from 1953.
Mm-hmm.
It was the new hot shit that it was going to revolutionize the world, and it did. It absolutely did. And then we're going to talk.
Really? I don't know. I mean, a house is. Maybe that's true for like condos. But a house is like. I mean, I guess. If you got a shitty house, that's true. But like if you have a house, like there's a lot you can do to spruce up a house. Like my parents did, they built that room that they sleep in now. That wasn't what the original house. That was built. You could like, oh, well, you haven't been since you've been here.
Here's a more complex type of transistor.
I feel embarrassed not noticing it. When I came home on Wednesday, Dad actually had the hedge guys like trim the entire front. You know how like the front bushes were covering the windows? They did a nice job, and they actually took out 2 of the bushes, so you can actually see through the window now. And I walked inside, and I like didn't notice it. Dad was like, "Oh, you notice anything different?" I'm like, "No." Not even. I like walked right by it. I did it. No, but this was outside. No, but I mean it was the bushes outside, right in front of the window. And then like when I walked home, I noticed it.
And the tube could be made to amplify as well as detect the
inside the house from my car.
He called this amplifying tube an audion.
But I don't know. Like, oh shit. Yeah, those 2 big bushes were gone. I didn't notice. And they moved the other tree that was like in the front. They moved it to the front.
Later, 2 scientists, Dr. Arnold of Bell Telephone Laboratories and Dr. Langmuir of General Electric, working independently, found
I gotta pay more attention to my
the
surroundings.
tube to create a very high
story.
vacuum. They obtained greater fidelity and stability. Here is one of the first high vacuum tubes that started us on the way
Don't
to the
believe in
wonders of
yourself,
our
believe in
electronic
me,
age.
believe in you.
By 1915, telephone research physicists and engineers had succeeded in developing methods of manufacturing the
I'm using a
vacuum
Devon
tube
stack right
with
now.
sufficiently
Alex Jones is
uniform
finished, and I'm
characteristics,
just
so that hundreds of them were installed as amplifiers, thus making possible the first telephone line between New York and San Francisco. and 3,000-mile transcontinental telephone calls became a reality.
Don't be
This
jealous.
same year, 1915,
Also
at
listen to you.
Arlington, Virginia, telephone engineers hooked together 500 vacuum tubes to generate enough radio power to send the human voice across the Atlantic for the first time in history. Words spoken into a radio telephone transmitter at Arlington were heard by engineers listening at the Eiffel Tower in
Can't
Paris
threaten
and
Trump?
also
Oh,
at
that's
Pearl
not
Harbor,
good.
Hawaii. 1920 brought the beginning of
But the
radio
thing is, like,
broadcasting, but a
Trump
vacuum
really,
tube
he
radio
really is
receiver
warning
was a
people.
real luxury.
Like, remember, like, a couple
Then,
months
the
ago,
next 10
like,
years
Trump
gave us
said,
talking motion pictures,
Khamenei, we know where you are, but you're safe for
transoceanic
now.
radio telephone service,
Like, there was a tweet where he basically sent that out. He basically was
television
telegraphing that
demonstrations,
Khamenei,
and
or,
ship-to-shore
you know,
telephony.
and here's the goes without saying, if he tweeted out like his exact
With our
residence,
electronic age in
kind of
full swing,
proving that he knew
the
where
coaxial
he
cable,
was,
the cathode
Trump
ray
would have
tube,
gotten
the
assassinated.
iconoscope, and the
That's how I
image
think
orthicon,
what's happening. But
aided
the
by
fact that
hundreds
like
of more
he
conventional
just said
vacuum
like we
tubes,
know where you are,
gave us television,
just left it at that.
radar for
It
war,
was like a warning. It was like a,
radar for
bro,
peace.
you're about to die.
92% of people who have tingling or numbness in hands or feet are missing
But
the
these
warning signs
I don't know,
of
these
pain.
people I guess don't take them
Urgent
seriously,
message
and
to anyone who suffers
I don't, you know,
numbness in their feet and hands. This
it's
discovery can
he
finish
does
the
act
anguish for good
erratic.
and protect you from serious conditions. A top American doctor has uncovered the real root source of nerve cell regeneration, which has nothing to do with prescriptions or food. In actuality, the more time that nerve damage persists, the worse the numbing, tingling, and stabbing can become. You can fix it now by using this simple morning routine where your nerves will finally regenerate and reverse the damage before you surrender to being hooked on meds for life. You must see this now. This unique method is a simple and quick solution to any neuropathy symptoms you feel. The numbness, tingling, or stabbing feeling in hands and feet, and it's completely drug-free. Keep in mind, this has nothing to do with prescriptions,
What's
bad
that?
diets, exercise, or any costly surgical treatments. So click the link below to watch a short free presentation on how you're able to free yourself from the torment now by watching the top USA doctor reveal how this secret that the pharmacy industry doesn't want you to know about.
Yeah.
Over 47,963 people have tried this simple trick, and it prevented them from severe conditions, and most importantly, it saved a ton of money on unnecessary prescriptions. It's important to stop everything you're doing to watch this short free presentation now, before it's too late.
Oh, they're about to say they're talking to you. I was like, hey, I'm talking to you right now. That's not fair. I thought it was just a way to like
And
shoot
then
the shit.
microwave radio relay to speed hundreds of telephone calls as well as television programs from coast to coast. The heart of all these
Yeah,
electronic
constant,
systems has been
constant
the vacuum
dopamine
tube.
and constant frustration.
But
It's
the
like
Bell
the mix,
Telephone
the perfect
Laboratories
mix.
have added an entirely new and different heart to modern communication systems. The transistor.
Well, I'm weird. I
operating
actually,
on a new
I
and
latch
different
into it.
principle
See, I'm like,
arising from basic research
I
on
don't think
solid
I'm playing
substances
video games for the
and how
right
the
reason.
electrons inside them
Most people
behave.
play for like
How did it
competitiveness
all
or
come
kind
about?
of streaming.
Well,
I'm
doctors
like a casual
Shockley,
player,
Bardeen,
but
and Bratton and their
you know,
associates
but I
at the
spend a
Bell
lot of
Telephone
time
Laboratories were
before
working
being
on
a
a problem
casual
in pure
player.
research, investigating
Like
the
most people,
surface
like who
properties
spend
of
this much
germanium,
time playing video
a
games, like they
substance
do
known
it
to
for
be a
like
semiconductor of electricity.
competitiveness.
Their study suggested a way to amplify an electric current
Because
within
it's
a
like their
solid
identity.
without a vacuum or a heating
And
element.
it is like my identity. I just I'm kind of embracing it. It's kind of it's like a casual identity. So it's just so.
Ah, yes, the
I don't know.
transistor was born. Thanks in part by Dr. Shockley. Dr. Shockley.
I also do, but I do the
Who's,
same thing with politics
Dr.
too. It's
Shockley,
just
you
like
might ask?
I spend a lot of time listening to politics, but I don't really like
William
make
Shockley.
it like
Well,
Paul
let's
makes
hear
it
some
his
of his,
identity.
His
Like he takes
bona
it very, very
fides,
seriously.
if you will.
We are honored now to have with us William
You know, he
Shockley,
campaigns,
the
he
inventor
does all
of the
sorts of
junction
shit.
transistor.
I probably
He
spend more
was head of
time
the
listening to
team
politics
at
than he
Bell
does, to be
Laboratories,
honest. You know, and he spends a lot of time.
which
He
developed
listens to
the
War
first
Room. He listens
transistor.
to
And for this, the three men were awarded the Nobel Prize
whatever
in
else
1956.
he listens to that told him
Dr.
that Charlie
Shockley,
Kirk was
I
assassinated by
understand you
his
spent your
microphone.
childhood in Palo Alto. How is it your family came here, and from whence did they come?
I can't believe he. The only people that I've heard say that theory is Stu Peters. I can't imagine he listens to Peters.
Because
And I like
believe in
Stu
the right weather
Peters, but I
conditions,
just
you can
I don't
hear
see
the
Paul
sound of
listening to
both
Stu
bells
Peters
from the apartment
seriously.
where I was born.
That's why I'm like,
But I arrived in Palo Alto
where
around
did he hear
3
that theory from?
Went to school here, including the Palo Alto Military Academy, which is still going.
If you're exploring outside, steer clear of any open areas. Best you can.
Next time he's in town.
And then you went on to college?
Yes, I went to Caltech for my undergraduate
I'm not gonna
work,
die
and
this
then
time.
to MIT for a PhD. I was a
Swear to
physics
God.
major, well, from about my sophomore year in college.
And after your PhD, armed with your diploma, where did you go?
I went to Bell Telephone Laboratories at that time, where I worked for C.J. Davison, who won the Nobel Prize around 1938. He was one of the attractions that brought me to the laboratories.
Little did he think he had another Nobel Prize winner coming to work for him, I'm sure.
You know, white genius guy. He's doing stuff that white people do, like, you know.
I'm shooting at it. He can't shoot me.
Inventing the
It's just-
transistor, revolutionizing electronics, whatever. Making everything that we have in everyday life possible. You know, just, white people things, right? Nobel Prize winner, of course. But again, you might be okay. Well, this is just, I get it. White people are awesome. Devin, you don't have to convince me, right? So extraordinary about this guy? What's extraordinary about this guy? Well, I'll tell you what. Often,
I didn't die. I just
I've been watching the stream for a while. You've heard me lament the fact that men.
I'm streaming it, by the way.
Means
I'm
men
streaming
with
it, by the
power,
way.
especially white men with power in previous generations, neglected their basic. I mean, just the bare minimum duty to their own people by being
I just flew into the
about
building.
the differences among different populations. Being honest about the fact that, hey, here we have William Shockley, I don't know, inventing the fucking transistor while simultaneously, for Jewish reasons, we're importing people from continents that never invented the wheel. Maybe that's not the best idea if we want to maintain American supremacy.
I don't like to cook with.
Maybe that's not the best idea if we want to maintain the standard of living that we enjoyed for our children. Maybe that's not the best idea. Taking for granted here, maybe we're taking for granted here the success that we've had so far. When we imagine that success is attainable by anyone who just simply sets foot inside our border, that upon walking on the magic soil of the United States, of the same caliber of people,
Alright, finally killed one.
as the people who currently reside there. Maybe we should think about this logically, right? Why is it that we had all these smart people, people like William Shockley, for example, who were clever enough to invent things like the transistor,
It must have changed this
bold
game.
enough
It's like,
to make these
definitely nerfed the
these
loot on these
inventions,
things.
these leap forwards. But weren't brave enough to just say, hey, you know what? If we want to keep this up, we want to keep doing this, maybe we have to have some standards here. Maybe we have to not allow, I don't know, the trash of the world. Maybe we should get excited about
Maybe
some
your mom
poem
didn't
written
get the
by
right
a Jew
time.
that was printed on the Statue of Liberty that literally says, "Bring us your trash." Bring us your trash. Get the trash of the world and dump it on the lawn of the United States. We want the trash. We like trash. We want to roll around in the trash. Well, it turns out there were some people. In this interview, you start to see the beginnings. William Shockley's
Are you
observations of the world beginning to be voiced.
Oh, cool.
I'd like
I should
to
be
have
nom-nom
you
against
tell
something.
me,
I don't know. I didn't even eat dinner
your
today.
thoughts on the nurturing of creativity in the young people
a piece of
today in
toast,
our
but
homes and in our schools. I know you've done some deep thinking on this. I'd like to know your thoughts on it.
Well, I think a good deal of it is probably built in genetically when the individual starts out.
Uh-oh.
I know. Don't remind me of that.
Now, he goes on to say, you know, because that's not why he's in this interview, but this is the first interview I found, at least, where he kind of
It feels good to
mentions
kind
that,
of just not eat dinner
you know,
once in a
and he
while.
seems to even reflect for a
Like I
moment
said, it feels
before
good to
answering.
like not eat dinner once in a
And
while.
he opens with, well, I think, you know, you're asking me how can we foster creativity among young people. I kind of think that a lot of it's just genetic. You know, it's kind of hardwired.
How about
You
this?
kind of get what you get.
How about I'll cook
There's
myself
some,
some
you know,
eggs tomorrow morning.
Variability there a little bit, but yeah, that's
I feel hungry.
it's kind
I
of,
just-
you know.
I just don't.
What are you gonna do? You gonna train a horse how to be a giraffe? I mean, it's
True,
not
yeah.
gonna
Once you
happen.
start smelling the food, yeah.
So, William Shockley
I've had that happen before.
began to notice a problem with other races of people and
I'm not moving.
reproductive rates in the United States. In fact, the hilarious thing is when he first decided that this was a problem
I was about to say
was when he was visiting India.
that worksheet you sent me.
He was in Pajidistan.
No.
Might be able to do it with 3.
No.
Or
There's about to die. Oh shit. What the fuck? How did that thing sneak up on me? Yeah, now I did, but what the fuck?
that thing shooting us? Oh, I think it was now.
He just snuck up on me. Need a defib.
Get some more help. I think whoever was up there got hit. I saw the flare. I don't have a defib.
I got a defib.
Yeah, we do. If you can crawl down to this hole.
Oh, watch out, there's a bastion.
Don't go up there.
Stay away.
Oh, there he is. Come on in here.
And when he came to America,
Oh, thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
he started doing some research and realized
He said, "Can I put it in?"
not only
Shut the door.
Oh, boy.
Hey, can you help us out down there? We're gonna try and do that mission out there.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Everybody's so nice.
Hey, do you want to go down and help us? We have 3 people. We've seen one more do that.
Yeah,
that
I'm
mission.
down. Let's do it. Let's kill this thing. See, I'm making friends, man. It's not all bad.
He's really smart. He's probably very used to being the smartest person in the world.
No, I'm not gonna have. I'll have a big breakfast. I'll make up for it.
With the bubble. And so when people are significantly dumber than the average, even, it probably sticks out even. And so he starts doing
Right now, I just.
it is more prevalent.
I just have a grenade launcher. Just doing some heavy damage. I only have a handgun.
Obviously,
That sounds
Why I'd never heard of this guy, but I thought if I had heard of this guy, maybe he had.
Oh man.
Oh, you're down, you're down. I got a defib. I got a defib.
If these problems as he saw them
Alright.
Let's finish this thing off. Piss me off.
See, I helped someone this time.
he did a lot of TV interviews. Not a lot of them are available anymore, but I was able to track down two. And the first one is a relatively small
I was almost dead. It's almost dead, guys. Keep shooting. Oh, it's on fire. Oh. I got the killing blow with a handgun right.
Talking about race and IQ and college campuses and writing letters to editors to raise the alarm that blacks were that not just blacks but the lower end of the IQ spectrum blacks were reproducing at like a factor of 4 to 5 times.
Hey, you ready to go down with us?
And that
Yeah, let's do it.
Whites, he was a little closer, but they were reproducing it at a higher rate than the high IQ whites. And that he saw a
he's coming down
problem on the horizon. So here he is on Black Journal, and this very adversarial situation. I will give them this. In several instances throughout the interview, they talk about how he, in America, he has a right to speak. You might not like what he says, but here in America, we like to discuss everything. That's all out.
What do y'all need me to do?
That's all. Partially because, partially because of the dysgenics, I think, that he was worried about. And part of it was, it's no longer the high-performing blacks in our society. That railing again, they're no longer having to mimic whites in order to maintain or to achieve this kind of success. Whereas I think that back in around 1970, that was still very much something that especially a television presenter, a black television presenter, would have to do. They would have to mimic like this one, and at the very least show some appreciation for the national values.
Y'all might want to do that one.
And at least pay it lip
Yes.
That's all out the window. So that was refreshing. I cut a lot of that out because it was just kind of like, patting themselves in the back and stuff like that. But I also we're not going to watch there's 4 of them. It gets insufferable because of the other guest, who is a professor from Howard University, one of those historically black universities, and she is black liberation. You'll see.
Oh my.
All right, I'm ready. Y'all tell me when.
That's not true. I had a half sandwich and Fletch crabs.
Black Journal investigates black.
What?
That was he's getting into some people's court.
He's on one, you're in the room.
I gotta get out.
Oh, here's the other one. We need somebody on this one.
My principal point, Mr. Brown, is not so much a theory of black-white differences, but it's summed up in one word, which is the theme of my appearance on your program and my efforts. And the word is dysgenics. And dysgenics means effectively down-breeding, retrogressive evolution. And I fear that this is worse for the black community, and I particularly welcome an opportunity to appear on
Seriously gonna die, though. That's crazy.
Now, I don't know if he's the one that coined the term dysgenics. He might have been, but he certainly was one of the earliest people to use it. He mentions how he played around with a couple different terms like de-evolution and some other stuff, but settled on dysgenics. So I don't know if that means he's the guy.
Yeah, but you lose all your shit if you die. So that's why you try not to die. I don't know whether
he's just the one that started using it the most early on. So that
guess
he
that's
opens
one way
up
to
with,
look
hey,
at
we
it.
got a problem. It's
Hey,
called
we got
disconnect.
to do this,
A
Pablo.
lot of the selection pressures that used to be applied
Guess
to
you could
people
say
are
that.
no longer being applied. You're having.
Oh, thank God I
Wait,
found you
that's
guys.
aggro. There you go.
You coming down?
surviving not only,
Yeah, let's go.
themselves, but
Let's do it.
It's just right here. You gotta come down this thing right here.
people that wouldn't have survived, pounding their rotational load and making just.
All right, I got on the pipe.
You know, people who are ill-suited.
All right, cool. We're getting the fourth guy right now.
It seems to be a problem that affects all races.
We just come down here.
To affect blacks more, and partially because.
Oh, you hear all of us?
well,
They don't.
the same, you know, he probably would have said the same.
Yeah,
thing
all right, so look, come here.
Like the last stream we did.
Come get on.
It affects them more because they
What was
are
that,
being
bitch?
subsidized. You know, their reproduction is being
pipe?
subsidized.
How do you get
Yeah,
more?
where was the fourth one?
It's right here.
They're paying for the black people.
All right, so yeah, right here. So come get on this
It's
one.
going to be less productive the more parasites are attacking.
So you
Enough parasites attached.
in the red?
Yeah, come here.
Okie doke. I'm here.
Yeah, you're gonna go over there.
Come get on that pipe and get this button right here.
People can look at it and worry about it.
Right.
Yeah, come over
Right here, right here.
You can hop on. No. Come right here.
Where we're at?
Like this. See how I do this?
Got it.
But I don't need it. Yeah.
And then you're gonna, when we say go, it's that button right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna count to 3 and we're all gonna do it. I'm gonna give them all 4 button. Go back to yours on the
The
pipe.
dictionary as to what racist means. It means emotional
Okay.
feelings, irrational feelings
Do
associated.
you want to do? Hey, how do this? Hey, you come with me. Follow me. I'll take you to where I was gonna go.
I feel that
So,
what
over
I'm
here.
engaged in is a demand for
This way.
diagnosis. I'd like to
Follow
say
me.
more
Can't follow
about this
directions.
charge, which
I'm coming.
probably later, which shows the disproportionate rates of reproduction for the least affected elements of the black community.
So you're gonna hit this button over here when we all say go.
Got it. Okay, I can do that. All right. Gotta hit the button, babe.
I'm on the button.
Gotta hit the button.
Everyone is.
Which means
All right, tell me when.
scientific analysis
All
of
right,
racial
tell me when
differences.
we're good to go.
Basically, I have a
Oh
faith
my
that
God.
reason is a good thing, and I
I'm
feel,
ready.
As
Hold
you
on,
do
Nicole.
about the First Amendment, but maybe with a slightly different emphasis.
All
I think
right.
The really important thing about
Happen
the
over.
First Amendment is
Yep.
it is a way of guaranteeing
All right, count it to
the
three.
likelihood that truth will emerge
Two.
as a result
One.
of
One.
conflicting ideas being expressed.
All right, hit it. I hit it.
Here's how to legally steal
Arc Performance Steel and 3 Arc Power Cells. So we got that Performance Steel, right, from the back.
I know.
I do have
I'm
it.
so excited. I didn't know that's how these buttons work in this game.
You can get power cells down here from these.
I've got power cells.
Oh, you're the man. Let's do it.
No, right up here in red. Where am I
Button,
going?
babe.
Look.
What do you mean, what
Hold on,
button?
come up here, come.
Following you.
Right here.
Okay. Glad you understand.
All right, Art's still there. I have 2 power cells. You got 3?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Come on, boys.
Let me hit the roof. Go.
Oh, we gotta get out of here. We only got 10 minutes left. Only 10 minutes, babe. It does. It's so addictive.
This is like my second time in this room.
So you're probably get 4 people together.
It's so hard.
It's en route.
Yeah, I've never been in this room before.
You have 10 minutes to return to Speranza. I repeat,
Here, somebody come with
10
his
minutes.
office.
Yeah, like press the button.
I just wanted to get in here. I don't really need anything. If you guys need something, just let me know.
Yeah, me too, yeah. Nice, boys.
It's a nice little L thing here.
Oh, a Geiger counter, whatever that is. What the fuck is that?
Installation is easy and takes less than 30 seconds. Just plug it in and it works. Optrimo instantly reduces fuel costs without any maintenance needed. We see that Americans are struggling with these current fuel prices. That's why the inventors of Optrimo want as many people as possible to try their latest invention.
Anything else?
What was that, babe? Sorry, I missed it.
They got
Oh.
sold by 2 big oil companies, but they always stopped them from distributing it over stores
Oh, yeah, it's...
and forced them to sell exclusively online. Now they're trying to take that away.
We got a little bit of a ways to go.
Yeah, we got to bounce, guys.
I didn't see what. Oh,
Wait,
gotta
this one
bounce.
closed?
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah, 8 minutes, man. We gotta go.
71 meters. Does anybody have any sensors? Oh wait, no. Are there any?
Wait, I saw some up here. Y'all didn't see them in here?
No, it's good. The hatch keys don't work right now.
Advanced mechanical.
No, they don't.
Y'all want
we
to
gotta go. Where's the spot?
Red Lakes.
We're
Red
gonna go
Lakes.
all the way across. Yep. We're not making no like 3 minutes.
Come this way.
Oh yeah, this way.
Let's go. We gotta get out. We gotta roll.
We're gonna be cutting this one close, y'all.
Oh shit, go up.
Just look up and then go up. I'm waiting.
I have a thesis and a basic belief that truth is a good thing and will be a benefit to man.
So, you know, you get some Jared Taylor
Let's
vibes from
get
this
it,
guy, but
boys.
Jared Taylor, if he invented the fucking transistor, you know what I mean? So this guy's obviously high functioning, right? He didn't just bring that little chart that he has stacks of paper, not just in this interview, but the next one we're gonna look at. He's
Oh, it's Nick
surrounded- his
Fuentes.
chair
What's
is
he up to
surrounded
these
by, like,
days?
these foot-tall stacks of paper, and not only does he have this incredible ability to recall facts, figures, and numbers and studies, just instantly. If he brings the
Yeah, it's like
receipts with
soothing
him.
background noise.
He brings the receipts. He'll reach down like, oh, let me pull out of this foot-tall stack of paper. Boom! Here you go. Here's the study. So the guy's fucking a genius, and it's pretty obvious that he's a high IQ just by the way he presents himself, and he's very polite and very hard to argue with because he brings the receipts. So he talks about how look, this is a problem. We got to take care of it, and we've got to bring so.
I died after all that.
Warms my heart. It kind of
Yeah, there's no
warms
way I'm
my
getting
heart.
out of here now.
Because
It's like 2 minutes left.
It's easy to get the impression that like literally no one was doing this. That no one was doing this. Aside from, maybe people that were doing it in a very destructive or ineffective way. But here's this guy doing all the right things. Why didn't it materialize into any kind of action? Well, we might get into that here in a moment. Now, his I guess the opposing argument guest, not quite as articulate.
Dr. Francis Welsing, give us the benefit of your opinion.
Well, my theory was...
Yeah, Israel bombed Lebanon for some reason.
I wrote a paper called The Press Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism.
By the way, you guys are going to love this. You're going to love... This is...
Tell them to knock it off.
This is... Well, I don't know. I think you guys will enjoy her theories.
I never said Israel was nice. That's what I said.
Behind
Said
writing that paper
Trump is
was
like
attempt to
playing the game.
the behavior of white
He's
people in relationship to
implied, but
every place in the world, black, brown,
he's not
and
the
yellow
enemy.
people.
It's kind of
And
hard
the
to
paper was
explain. It's
presented
just
to the
like
Americans at the National
it's basically what Big
Breakfast
Tech is
Institute
saying.
for
It's like
Psychiatry.
we can't just be
Because
counter signaling
back in 1969, the Black Caucus in
like
the
our
American
country
Psychiatric
just because we're doing
Association,
evil
we had
things.
said that racism,
Because
and when
Trump's
we
not
talk
really in
about
charge,
racism,
but
we're
he is
talking
like
about
enjoying the
white
show.
supremacy behavior of white people.
For what
that
it's worth.
racism was the #1 mental health problem in the nation, and it was the #1 cause of other mental health problems. And I wanted to understand what this thing of racism really is all about, because it's the kind of thing that has caused woe and misery and suffering for the vast majority of the people on this planet that are classified as non-white. And in my attempt to understand why the necessity of white people to keep saying that white is superior and that the condition of non-white is inferior, in the more I thought about it, in conjunction with an idea that a friend of mine had, that racism was a worldwide behavioral system for the maintenance of white supremacy by a small minority of people. I put those ideas together with what we know about genetics, what we know about the condition of skin whiteness itself. The condition of skin whiteness is the genetic inability to produce skin pigment called melanin.
Born in Mecca, Yaqub was born with an extremely large head, which gave him unmatched intelligence. Discovering the law of attraction from playing with magnets, he theorized he could create new people who could attract others with lies and deceit to rule over the original black man. Exhausting the knowledge of Meccan universities,
That's true, he didn't mention
Yaqub
Nick.
discovered that a black man had a separate black and brown germ with 59,999.
That's a good point. Why didn't he mention Nick?
He went to the Isle of Pilam, modern-day Patmos, establishing a dictatorial regime in which black traits were bred out through a eugenics program in which blacker-skinned babies were killed, but lighter-skinned babies were allowed to live.
This is a genetic recessive trait. It is a genetic deficiency state, not as defined by Francis Welsing, but defined by geneticists and dermatologists, that the inability to produce the skin pigment of melanin or melanin pigment is described as albinism.
After 600 years, the white race was born. The brutal conditions made this race evil by nature, born with an innate desire to lie and murder
it was
people.
glorious.
The white race would travel to Mecca, where they would wreak havoc and mayhem on the population.
You know that Rick got
And
banned
I think
from Mark
that
Levin?
White people, even though most white people are not consciously understanding their problem in genetics,
I say the
they are
opposite.
certainly aware that they are genetically dominated by
Yes,
people of color.
that's
why
what I
it
meant
was
to say.
one drop of black blood.
He got banned from his
makes you
radio,
black,
and he like
because people of
called
color
into the show
have
like
the
3
genetic
times.
capacity to annihilate white people.
They were exiled to Europe, where Meccan soldiers would patrol
Yes,
the
I
border to
thought
prevent the rebels from crossing. The whites would further degenerate into barbarism, living naked and eating raw meat. A man named Moses would teach them to wear clothes and try to civilize them. When he gave up, he blew up 300 of the worst white people with dynamite.
And so unless white people control the reproductivity of people of color, then we can postulate that perhaps one day there won't be any white people. And I think that the very survival of white people necessitates that they project genetic inferiority on people of color, because it is they who really are aware that they are genetic recessive and perhaps genetically inferior to people of color.
The whites, however, had by this point learned tricks.
It's not really MAGA, it's more like Mega.
and lack of empathy to usurp power and enslave the black race, bringing the first slaves to America. Some whites realized they were evil and tried to go back to being black, but with nothing to go by, they instead became guerrillas. Yaqub's progeny would usher in a period of violence and misery. The white race starting
I don't know. I'm tired of being critical. Alex Jones is accepted. I'll let Nick
regain world
I won't interrupt.
I think that it is of prime importance for the majority of people in the world to understand why it is that white people have to, the effective majority.
I'm with Big Tech, and if you want to hear an interesting take, David Clements was like, when Trump tweeted, he didn't mean, when he said annihilate Iran, he didn't mean the people of Iran, he meant the bankers. I was like, that's a
Can
weird
you
take.
imagine being that guy? Being Dr. Shockley and having to listen to this and not just and have the patience to not just be like, you're proving my point. You are proving my point. Your argument is not you're inferior because of melanin. Like that's and that it doesn't make any sense. We're inferior, and so we have to convince everyone else they're inferior because we're so afraid of being found out that we're inferior, and their dominant genetics will breed us out, and then there's look, and that's not her only crazy theory. In fact, I'm not going to make you sit through all of it. She's very long-winded, of course, right? Dr. Shockley is able to be very concise with his explanations because they're well thought out and they make sense, whereas she just has to ramble about fucking nonsense forever. And in fact, even the host, who's black and on her side, has to keep stopping her because she just won't ever fucking shut up. So that's the other side of it. And so, as you can imagine, this interview is very, very adversarial.
Let me say, this chart that I held up a moment ago is very important in respect to this question of why I think there may be what proves a basic difference. But I'm going to say that
true,
if
he
there
was on time.
were not a basic difference in intellectual capacity in the past, there probably will be a basic difference between black and white intellectual capacity in the future, simply because of the
Is that
reproduction
really what's
patterns.
happening? Hey,
And
see-
these are
see,
Census
it's
Bureau
not as-
data, and this is the most
It's,
threatening
it's literally like what is
And what
happening.
it indicates is
I think
that for the
he just likes him.
You fancy soaring in the world of affiliate marketing, right? If that's a yes, then you're going to love what we have for you. This groundbreaking webinar. It's like the jetpack for those affiliate marketers who want to skyrocket their income and break the success barrier. Now, this isn't just some regular old webinar. Think of it more like an open treasure chest. A treasure chest that's seen over $23 million roll in from online operations. And here's the kicker. You'll learn how to graft this successful approach right into your own operations. Ever noticed how many traditional online business models crumble to dust? Well, in this webinar, you'll learn about the 3 big wrecking balls that smash those models. And the secret sauce the big players don't want you to know about. Here's where things get really juicy. This program lets you reel in commissions up to $3,493.50 from a single conversion. The sweet part, you don't have to do any of the hard selling yourself. Learn how to flick on the
I think he's overthinking it. Trump will throw him when he's with the red.
$3,078 a month. And don't worry if you're still hunting for your first online dollar. This works for everyone.
It's 1:30.
But that's not all.
What am I gonna
You'll
eat?
also find out how to fire up high-ticket automated webinars that are ready and waiting for you. Making your
Alright, maybe I'll
sales
do
journey a lot less bumpy.
Let me get
And the
upstairs.
coolest part, you can integrate this $1 million method into your business in around half an hour. Yeah, 27 minutes to potentially change your world. Seats are going fast, so don't hit pause. Act now and secure your spot in the training. You'll find the link you need in the description.
Black women of the lowest intellectual social class, which are rural farm women, generally the education is least, the average number of children is 5.4. For women with college degrees, it's 1.9. And so this is definitely unfavorable. It is reproducing far more at the bottom end and not enough to keep even at the top end.
Dr. Shockley, can
For
you
whites, let me just finish this. For whites, the numbers are also in this direction, but nowhere nearly as severe.
Dr. Shockley, I think that in all fairness, you should explain to the audience why it is that you have, first of all, you have a very large segment of the black population who are on farms, who are deprived in cities. Why don't you?
Yeah, again, she can't even understand really the concepts that he's putting forward. Nothing about the data point that he's using even talks about what percentage of blacks are in this rural condition. It could be 10% of blacks. It could be 100%. It could be 50. I mean, well, it couldn't be 100 because there's another statistic there. But she's arguing with something that really has nothing to do with the data he's showing. In fact, he's trying to hold out an olive branch. What he's trying to do with this graph by including the blacks and the whites is explain that, look, and in fact he said in his introduction, if there isn't a difference between blacks and whites intellectually, there will be. Now, he also says that there is, but he's saying, look, if you disagree that there is a difference now, you should be really worried about this because the blacks that are reproducing are at a much higher rate than the blacks with the higher IQ or the blacks with low IQs. And you have the same pattern in the white category, but it's not as dramatic as it is in the black category. And what does she do? She defaults to what all blacks do because she's never had to actually encounter this kind of an argument before. Well, I think, it's white people's fault. How? How exactly is how is the reproductive rate of low IQ blacks being higher than high IQ blacks? How is that why would white people ever? In fact, he's the only white person talking about it, and he doesn't want it. But she's not even high IQ enough to understand what he's getting at here.
You explain at the time that you're showing this, who is keeping black people in a situation like they're in? I mean, it could be, you could turn it around the other way, where you could have very large numbers of black people who are exposed to educational opportunities like white people, who are exposed to housing, who are exposed to health facilities. Why don't you explain that at the same time that you put figures like that?
Sure, you would explain it,
no, but
Dr.
I think
Welsing,
it's important
but
in
one must say first things first. And you've raised the basic question there, and that is whether the disadvantages are primarily a lack of opportunity or whether they are primarily a basic genetic difference. And let me mention one thing, which is that in certain areas there is no doubt about black superiority. Blacks are superior in visual acuity, and they're superior in a systematic way. Now, I don't expect that people will understand the details of this, but I simply want to show that quantitative work can be done. This happens to be a research job of my own, and what it shows, because these points that you see here lie on a line which is not the central line, but they lie systematically on a line, what it says is that so far as visual acuity is concerned, blacks are systematically better than whites. It's as if their bell-shaped curve, their distribution curve, were pushed upwards compared to whites for visual acuity, or at least for the avoidance of bad eyesight, such that if the same shift occurred for IQ, it would mean that the average IQ distribution would be up by 9 points rather than down by about 15 points, which is the typical average.
Ooh, twist of the knife. Sneak in the IQ statistics by talking up. He's really good at this. He's putting a spoonful of sugar with that medicine. He's saying, oh, no, I totally agree. There are some areas where blacks are superior, in fact, with visual acuity. Here's this graph. I did this study, and it shows that black people don't wear glasses with the same frequency that white people do. You guys have better eyes. Imagine, though, if you were as good at vision, or if you were as good at IQ as you are at vision, you'd be smarter than white people instead of way dumber. Oh, it's too bad, huh? It's too bad you're not as good at thinking as you are at vision. You know, because then we wouldn't have to have this conversation, I guess, right? Right? Yeah. But too bad, yeah. It's, instead of being, 15 points below the average white, you guys would be 9 points above. But yeah, sadly, this is vision that we're talking about, and not the more important thing. The eyes are important, I guess, but not as important as the brain.
Dr. Shockley, visual acuity is probably something that the system of white supremacy has not necessarily seen the need to affect the environment that black people are in so that it will alter the fact that they have visual acuity that is superior to whites.
So even that, her theory is the only reason why blacks have better vision is white people haven't realized it yet and haven't changed the environment to ruin their eyes. And the second that the white, and I guess now he's alerting everybody, hey everybody that's white, you heard it, the memo's gone out. Blacks have better eyesight. We got to start fucking with their eyes. We have to see, this is what I'm talking about. She's never had to actually deal with this because for her entire life, white people have been not talking about this truth that he's talking about. That no, you guys are just genetically not capable of performing at the same level in white societies. And it creates a situation that's bad for both of us. Now, as it turns out, he has a solution. I don't recall if I have it on this interview, but it's definitely in the next one.
I'd like to say that I don't think that there's a major difference between what Dr. Shockley is doing. I don't think that Dr. Shockley is fully aware of what he is doing and why he is doing what he's doing. But the long-range implications of what he is doing are no different than the propaganda campaign that Hitler and his Nazi unit carried on in Germany that ended up eliminating 6 million Jewish people. Now, what is most interesting is that Hitler said the very same thing. He said, number one, that the Jews were genetically inferior to the Aryans. Number two, he was aware that the Semites had genetically dominant material, genetic material to the Aryans. And if we begin to understand the way that people who were in Europe at the time that the Semites arrived from Africa, when the Semites arrived in Europe from Africa, they were people who had substantial amounts of color.
Saluting Chief High Priest Kazak. Mike, rock.
You ever with some Hebrews and Israelites?
And who had very kinky hair because they were from the continent of Africa. And the Europeans, the white people who were there, had a reaction, a color reaction to the Semites that is no different than the reaction and the concern on the part of people who are white in this area of the world or any other area of the world to people who have the genetic capacity to produce color, who can genetically annihilate their position. And I think it's very, very important. Even though Dr. Shockley, I am convinced that Dr. Shockley believes that he is perhaps elevating science with all of his charts and all of his figures, but he doesn't understand the things that propel him as a white individual in a social system that has programmed him throughout his life and programmed large numbers of people like him.
Think YouTube runs live streaming? Think again. The biggest live streams in the US are happening on Rumble. And now, launching your own stream is easier than ever with Rumble Studio. It's free, powerful, and built for creators. If you want to monetize, it's never been easier. Whether it's stream donations, ad revenue, or live campaigns, Rumble lets you make money your way. Any live stream in Rumble Studio can be effortlessly simulcast on YouTube, X, Twitch, and Facebook, all at the same time. So, if you've ever thought about live streaming, this is your sign.
To focus on the genetics of people of color in such a way as to destroy people of color.
Okay. Even the presenter was just kind of like, God, shut up. So yeah, it's I know you more about what am I, is her argument, I guess.
I have a question for Dr. Shockley. I'd like to know, is it possible to determine the amount of intelligence genes covering intelligence will have, since intelligence level is an objective man-made criteria? I know that you can determine genetically such things as mongoloidism and things of that nature, which we give an objective definition to and say that they can't perform academically. Now, can this work the other way?
Well, one of the main elements of the campaign I'm undertaking to bring objectivity in this area bears very closely on the question that was asked. The issue is, to what degree is difference in intelligence between individuals determined by their difference in environment, and to what degree is it determined by a difference in their genes? That is, which pushes the intelligence up and down more. Now, right at that point, one runs into a difficulty because a really adequate definition of intelligence, which can be generally agreed upon, doesn't seem to exist. IQ is some sort of a measure of intelligence, but it's a very man-made, limited thing. Nevertheless, one can come to significant conclusions about this. And the significant conclusion that I come to, and I think there's only one chance in 2,000 of being significantly wrong, is that differences in genes between individuals in typical white or Caucasian populations have 80% of the effect of whatever it is that pushes IQ up and down, and within that milieu, that range of environments, the differences in environments have only about 20%. And this is one of the items that is dealt with in some length in that pamphlet that I was holding up, and if Mr. Brown wants to encourage me, I will say more about it. But that's, in brief, the answer I come to.
I appreciate the brevity. Thank you.
Let me just comment here that Dr. Shockley has absolutely no way of proving that genes control intelligence.
Hey, let me get it off right quick. Let me get it off right quick.
More of a manner than the environmental influences that one is exposed to. And I think that I have a definition of intelligence that I use, and the definition is that it is the ability to decode the environment. That means to ascertain what is happening in the environment and to develop behavior that is appropriate to it. Now, things that influence behavioral performance, that is our response to the environment. It has to do with what kinds of security systems we develop with that are in our homes, what kind of environmental influences
blacks are really into security systems in homes.
Affecting us, and we measure this every day in terms of school children's performance. If they're in a bad environment, you put them in a better environment. You can improve their performance scholastically.
So actually you can't, and we've done stream after stream after stream about how no matter how much you change the black people's environment, it doesn't improve their performance scholastically. You just got to remember the context of when this was happening. This is when they were pushing all that shit. This is when they were pushing busing black kids into white schools. This was the big lie. The big lie, it was 100% environment, that the only reason why blacks were failing is because of some environmental factors that somehow white people were immune to, or maybe they were immune to it because the white people themselves were generating these environmental factors in an effort to hide their genetic inferiority of, that she's going on and on about. And so because she doesn't like the fact that blacks score on average much, much lower on IQ tests, she doesn't believe in IQ tests, and has her own definition of an intelligence that is basically something you can't measure. And even though he concedes that IQ is not a perfect measurement, and I've said this myself, IQ is not a perfect measurement, but it's a measurement. It's a measurement that correlates with a lot of things, and it seems to match up with observations well enough to where it seems to be a measurement that is at least useful when talking about these racial differences. And she doesn't like the results, and so she throws it out the window. We'll go more in depth about some of the criticisms that you hear from leftists and faggot Jews about IQ tests. But let's see how he responds.
My research leads me, and it's a tragic conclusion really, my research leads me inescapably to the opinion that the major cause of the American Negro's intellectual and social deficits is hereditary and racially genetic in origin, and thus not remediable to a major degree by practical improvements in environment.
Very succinct and very true. The American Negro's deficits in intellectual and other measurable contrasts when it comes to their performance versus white people. It's a hereditary thing. And he goes on to explain that, look, and this is something you've heard me say, where I've said, look, by not being honest with black people about it, you create black people crazy conspiracy theories about white people somehow doing something to make them not succeed. Because if you can't tell black people the truth about, like, well, actually the reason why you're not succeeding is because you're just not up for the task. You weren't made for this. You didn't evolve in our environment. Speaking of environments, you didn't evolve in our environment. We evolved in our environment. Okay? So we are more suited for our environment. And so when we get you, just like if I were to get a polar bear and stick it in the fucking, like an equatorial jungle, it would fucking die. It wouldn't be able to handle it. Or vice versa. If I were to get like a fucking jaguar and throw it in the North Pole, it would be dead in a couple hours. Like you evolve to fit your environment. And what we're seeing now, not just in America in the 1970s, and before and after, when it comes to blacks' inability to assimilate and become productive members of society at an acceptable rate, we're seeing the exact same thing at all the white countries all across the world who have opened the floodgates and let all these people in who are from different environments with different capabilities that don't match our own. And then what happens when they're inevitably they don't succeed? They have to know why. They want to know. I'd want to know why, right? Wouldn't you want to know why? If you went to another society and you tried your best, I'm not saying they're trying their best, but let's say that even if you did, you know, you try your best and you're like, man, for some reason, I'm getting outperformed by everyone around me. It's almost like that there's something out there's got to be something more to this than it's not just what they keep saying, that if I try hard enough and I, you know, really pull up myself up by my bootstraps, I can somehow succeed. I mean, they keep saying that. It's a line of opportunity. I'm not succeeding. What's going on? I'd want to know what was going on. And because we can't just be honest with them and say, well, you know, those little bumper sticker things we say about, you know, all you have to do is try to make something of yourself in this country and the world is your oyster. That doesn't really apply to people who are 80 IQ. It just doesn't. It doesn't apply to people that are 80 IQ, because you have coworkers on average that are probably at least 10, 15, 20 points IQ ahead of that. And so you're just not gonna be able to do it. You're not gonna be able to do it. And because we're not honest about that, we can't just say that, because everyone's been programmed by Jews to be afraid of the word racist, and everyone's afraid to like just be honest with black people and say, you guys just aren't as smart as we are, sorry. I mean, that's the tough love. That's the tough love. And now we can actually talk about solutions, right? Instead, you're stuck in this weird scenario where you've got this drug addict fucking roommate, and instead of saying, yeah, the reason why you keep waking up in like a pool of your own shit and piss and puke is because you're a fucking alcoholic, man. And now we got to talk. You know, if you keep avoiding the issue, right? Oh no, he just likes to drink or whatever. No, he's fucking up, man. And if you keep avoiding the issue because you're
I've been taking digestive care for 3.5 years. It's a wonderful product. It has greatly improved my digestive system and my overall health. I am so pleased with this product. It has done so much and changed my life. I recommend this product to anybody with any kind of digestive or autoimmune disorders.
I'm Dr. Sergey Sorin, Medical Director of the Shili Sorin Wellness Institute. I'm about to give you the most valuable health tip you could possibly provide. If you or someone you love is living with ongoing health challenges, or if you are simply interested in better health as you age, go to lifesavingformulas.com. There, you will learn about cellular support of the normal biochemistry of the human body. Copy down. That's lifesavingformulas.com.
you're non-confrontational and you're a pussy, then what happens, right? He comes up with all these crazy ideas. Oh, my boss fired me because they fucking hate me because they're afraid of how smart I am, or just, you know, those kinds of people. You're turning an entire race of people that you have to live amongst into those kinds of psychos, because you can't just be like, hey, no, actually, you're just kind of a fuck up. And now we can talk about solutions. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about solutions. And by the way, because I guess that's what it is, right? They want to avoid that conversation because the solutions ain't easy. Because if it can't be fixed with social engineering, if it can't be fixed by, oh, we'll just build $1 billion fucking school for Negroes or whatever the fuck, and expect it to work. If you can't just fucking throw money at it and have it go away, well, then what are the solutions? Yeah, not a lot of comfortable, easy, warm and fuzzy solutions. Well, guess what? The situation that brought these people in our society in the first place wasn't some fun, warm and fuzzy thing in the first place, was it? So why would you expect the solution to it to be some kind of fucking happy story with a good ending at the end?
Go ahead, you're on Black Journal, please.
Hello, my name is Dennis Hunter, and I'm a second lieutenant with the Cadet Corps Central Harlem. I'm 17 years old. My question is directed to Dr. Shockley. And my question is, if your theory is right, should a black child never expect to be as good as a white one? And if so, I would like you to come to the Cadet Corps and tell it to the youth in my company.
No, I don't believe that's true. In fact, I have standard statements that I've made on this, and one of them says it is my position is not that all blacks are inferior to all whites. Indeed, my statistical studies show that blacks achieve almost all levels of eminent distinction that whites achieve, and I'm here with two eminent blacks who have achieved levels of distinction, and Mr. Brown, I believe, has won a number of citations for television programs. But now, what I think, I'd like to come back to this dysgenic point. Statistically, if one examines the performance of American blacks, one finds that the fraction of those who achieve high levels of distinction, the probability of one of them doing it, it's not zero, they're up there, but only the chance on a per capita basis is about 10 times smaller. Also, if I look at the probability of their getting into difficulties, the probability of very adverse performance for blacks, that is about 10 times higher in the FBI crime reports.
Dr.
Now, incidentally, let me mention two others, so we won't have it all a black-white situation. Let's put some other colors in, let's put some yellow in. Where I have looked at the limited data that's available in Census Bureau reports on American Orientals, and when I've looked at the membership list of the National Academy of Sciences, I find that American Orientals are represented in our National Academy of Sciences, which is a high scientific distinction, at about 10 times their proper per capita proportion. And they're also about 10 times lower in the FBI crime reports. So there are these systematic differences, but I think that if one is to speak to this young man's problem, which I detect the feeling in this, if one tries to live up to things which he is not destined, not equipped to do, I think this may produce a kind of paranoia in which one can't see what is holding him back, and one concludes that the white race is engaging in the sort of things that Dr. Welsing says she has a theory that accounts for it.
All right, Dr. Welsing.
I lost my point listening to that. Go ahead with another question.
Yeah, I bet you did, fucking cunt. And thank you. He said exactly what I've been saying. That if we can't be honest about this, what happens? They start to indulge in the kinds of crackpot conspiracy theories that stupid bitches like this came up with. And that's exactly what's happened. That's exactly what's happened. Now, this goes on for a while. Like I said, we're not going to watch this beyond what we just watched. She goes on to, and that's the thing, is none of her quote unquote research or theories are based on literally anything. There was one funny exchange I was thinking about including, but it's so wordy. But I'll just sum it up. She mentions that because she's a psychiatrist, right? She's a psychiatrist, and she's just out of nowhere postulates that white women recognize the genetic dominance of black men, and that's why they all crave black men. And he says, well, where's your data that all white women crave black men? And she says, well, it's, my practice. I have a lot of white women patients, and I can tell you that at least 50% of them, part of their, what we discuss is their desire for a black man. And he says, well, don't you think your sample size is well, not just the sample size is skewed, but we're talking about women who are pathological to the degree that they're having to see you for psychiatric help. And so, not exactly representative of all white women, is it? You're basically saying that crazy white women that require psychiatric help, half of them want black men. And she gets very upset, but again, the exchange, it's very long, but I think I summed it up pretty good there. She also goes on and talks a bit about her weird melanin theories, and even the host starts to get upset because he's misunderstanding. They've never been talked to like this. They've never been talked to like this, and so he's either purposely misunderstanding everything he's saying, or he's just incapable of understanding what he's saying because new ideas are not easily absorbed. So, anyway, after, I think this interview is actually before the one we just watched, but I thought he did a good, at least dipping his toe in the waters here. I thought it was a better intro than this interview here. This is a little more intellectual, but it's also kind of you know, it's very gatekeepery. Why? Because it's firing line with William F. Buckley. And for those of you who know William F. Buckley, or don't know, William F. Buckley was like this, I don't know, like basically a guy that masqueraded as this intellectual and would have very intellectual conversations about very hot topics, but it was very gatekeepery. There were certain borders you were not supposed to cross. And in fact, I'm very surprised that even Shockley here was given the time of day. Apparently, he wrote a letter requesting that he be on the show, and made the argument that his show would be doing a disservice to Americans by not allowing his voice. And as you can tell just by the way he presents himself, that letter was probably it might have tickled the pseudo-intellectual side of William Buckley's brain here, and he allowed him on the show. So he goes into a little more detail about maybe some of the solutions to these problems, as well as he re-articulates some of the things that we've already heard him say. I will say this. He's very much in this interview and in the prior one, and I haven't focused so much on this because I think it would distract from what the good things that he is saying. But just in full disclosure, he does often try to do the ineffective boomer tactic of, and I'm not saying that, you know, this has to you know, I'm saying there's low IQ whites too, and we should have the same sorts of solutions that we have for the low IQ blacks for the low IQ whites. And this is where I think a lot of people get upset. A lot of people that are pro-white, they get distracted by this, and they think that, well, you know, when you become an IQ supremacist, you know, he mentioned the Asians in the past interview. When you become an IQ
I'm Dr. Sergey Sorin, Medical Director of the Shili Sorin Wellness Institute. I'm about to give you the most valuable health tip you could possibly provide. If you or someone you love is living with ongoing health challenges, or if you are simply interested in better health as you age, go to lifesavingformulas.com. There, you will learn about cellular support of the normal biochemistry of the human body. Copy it down. That's lifesavingformulas.com.
supremacist, then it does open the door to abandoning race as a you know, what you care about most, what you prioritize most, and it opens the door to prioritizing people with just the highest IQs, which some would say would be East Asians and Ashkenazi Jews, and so that, you know, that's not necessarily a great thing. And that criticism is correct. It's right. That isn't a great thing if that's all you focus on. But I don't think that's necessarily what he was ever saying, so much as he stated before. That is one thing we can measure. It's one thing we can measure, and it's something that generally people these days, and I think then too, it's generally accepted to at least to some degree, right? It's generally accepted, and there's not a whole lot of things you can do to measure intelligence, and there's not a lot of things you can therefore measure about the value to a society, or because IQ correlates with so many positive things, so many positive outcomes, and so many positive things if you care about social cohesion and the success of your country. IQ is not a silver bullet by any means. In fact, it's very, very inadequate, but it's adequate enough to at least start having these conversations, because without it, how do you quantify it? How do you quantify it? It makes it almost impossible to have these discussions, especially with like imagine the destinies of the world that need some kind of study to prove something or another, or some kind of, they require something that quantifies with precision what it is you're talking about to even let you have the debate in the first place. And that's just something that IQ allows us to have. And yes, it is imperfect, and it does leave the door open to the sorts of problems that I just discussed. But that's not, I don't believe that's not where his I don't think that was part of I don't think he wanted a world full of Asians and Jews. Let me just put it that way. I've read enough about this guy. So I've that sort of thing is a little bit in this interview. So full disclosure, we're not going to focus on that so much as what he's going to talk about with maybe some of the solutions.
Studies available on eugenics have an interesting history. One of the plans I talk about is a eugenics measure, the so-called voluntary sterilization bonus plan, and thinking-exercise underlined when I put it in writing. This was actually proposed by H.L. Mencken, I think, with tongue-in-cheek about 1935. I did a study on the books on eugenics in the Stanford Library at one time, and this came up with a very interesting result. That in the early 20s, there were a large number of books that were acquired by the Stanford Library, but after Hitler came into power, it dropped down, so I think there may have been periods there of 3 or 4 years when not a single acquisition occurred in the library that was listed under eugenics.
So here he starts to talk about solutions. And it's funny, he introduces the idea that something I've also brought up, where you don't have to necessarily do forced sterilization. Now, I think that in this country we did do this. We did do forced sterilization. We did an entire stream about it. I think it's sterilization edition or something. In fact, that's where this comes from.
I am not method defect. And I don't see how can the doctor say that I am method defect?
Our ancestors sterilized that bitch. And that wasn't the beginning, that was the end. What we were watching during that stream was they were putting an end to those policies that had been going on since like the 1920s or so. We were sterilizing people, and that were the dregs of society, and I don't even think that it was really. I don't think race was the prime motivating factor. They sterilized a lot of white people, and they sterilized a lot of black people. and we did it for decades. And I mean, you think it's bad now. Imagine if we hadn't been doing that. You think that dysgenics are bad now. Imagine if for all those decades that we were sterilizing and we're not talking like 80 IQ black people. We're talking like 50 and like literally like 50 and 60 IQ black people that were like that woman getting sterilized. And just imagine all their kids. I mean, the problem would have been infinitely worse. So thank God we even did it for a little bit. But one of the solutions he's suggesting here is that, look, it's a voluntary thing. What we do is we kind of calculate what their cost to society would be, what their potential children would be, like how many kids they would potentially have and what the cost of those kids would be. And you offer a fair bonus for sterilization. you volunteer to be sterilized because you have genetic disorders or low IQ or whatever. And of course, obviously, and as William F. Buckley loves to continuously point out, which is funny because it means that he knows that it would disproportionately affect black people, right? And you give them this bonus, and they go and look, it would work. You trying to tell me that if you approach low impulse control, low IQ people and say, I'm going to give you $30,000, I'm going to write you a check for $30,000 fucking dollars today, and all you have to do is hang out in that, it's an outpatient procedure, you just go into that doctor's office for a couple hours, they're not going to fucking do it. They're going to fucking do it. Enough of them are going to do it to where it's going to be really, really positive. And that's what he's suggesting first, is that, hey, look, if for some reason, as I said last stream, if for some reason we're hell-bent on having these people fucking around us for some reason, I mean, God, I don't know why we feel obligated to even have them around, but if we're going to have them around, then we have to apply rules that are appropriate for their presence. We're going to have to do something about them being here that makes it safe and prosperous for us. Otherwise, what's the fucking point? I mean, there is no point, but I mean, at least let's make it less bad for us, okay? It's already a shit deal. It's already a bad deal. The bad vastly outweighs the good. So how can we at least make it the pain a little number, or at least stop the spread, right? Like, can we at least do that? Can we just make it so it's not a problem that every year increases? And you know, let's sterilize some fucking wombs. Let's you know, do some snip. And hey, it's fair. It's voluntary. There's nothing really you can complain about. And so that's what he was talking about there. And he also mentions how this was like a pretty normal topic in the United States. People don't like to admit that. They don't like to acknowledge that. And unfortunately, this whole eugenics as a bad word has been hijacked by a bunch of people that are, you know, the typical people who have stupid people in their fucking audience, the kinds of people that are like fucking, you know, whether it's Alex Jones or you know, some kind of fucking nutso flat earth cult leaders, if they have stupid people in their audience, they scare you with the eugenics word. Why? Because guess what? If your audience is stupid, they do have something to worry about. They do have something to fucking worry about. Okay? And so they try to make it sound like, oh yeah, these evil white people, you know, see, it's not just Jews. They were grabblers, right? And these evil white people, they really wanted to just go around sterilizing everyone, and they were just, oh, it's horrible. You know, they're eugenicists. Oh, it's a naughty word. But it was a totally normal thing to talk about. It's something that white people were very comfortable talking about. Even the ruling class whites were very comfortable talking about. And it's something they engaged in, and it wasn't until World War II and all the anti-Hitler propaganda that was produced by the Jews that really it became a scary bad word. And all of a sudden, as he observed, libraries who forever would stock books about the topic of eugenics stopped ordering the books because that...
On Rumble, stream 24/7 with your favorite live streams, viral videos, live podcasts, and exclusive content. From news and politics to gaming, stock market, sports, and more, you'll never miss a moment. Discover top channels the moment you open the homepage. Scroll your personalized feed to catch every new upload from creators you follow. Then tap into the chat to join the conversation live. Start streaming, chatting, and discovering new content today by downloading the Rumble app.
That was Nazi. That was Hitler. Ooh, bad. Nazi, Hitler, bad. It's amazing how much mileage rather, that the Jews have been able to get out of the fucking Holocaust lie. It's fucking stunning how many ways that's worked for them. And this is just another way. It's another way. And so these discussions all stopped because it was all Hitler. Hitler bad, Hitler master race, Hitler bad. But I digress.
To whether you believe the brain of man was placed in his head as a result of evolution of weapon-using apes, who were precursors to man, which those more clever in using weapons actually developed the brains and killed off the other ones. So that I say that it's equally valid if the brain of man was placed in God when God created him in his own image in the Garden of Eden. In either of these things, there is a profound urge and, in fact, an obligation to use the brain. So the first of my 3 moral postulates that I had an opportunity to put into Presbyterian Life, a magazine then, as a result of a hostile attack by one of their columnists, a very nice fellow on the phone I found in talking to him, the title of the article was 3 Moral Postulates, Truth, Concern, Death. And the first one said, the principle, the truth shall make you free, means that man has an obligation to use his intelligence to endeavor to understand and to solve the quantity and the quality problems of mankind. And as I say, I believe that conclusion is invariant to one's religious belief over a wide range of beliefs. The second one is a concern postulate.
You say it's invariant in the sense that everyone believes it, or in the sense that you believe it in any circumstances?
Well, I don't believe that an entire population will have uniform ideas on almost anything except maybe what goes up must come down, and even that is now shaken as a result of the development of satellites.
Yeah.
But if I take the group of people, the general area of people who are in almost any criteria you'd want to use, in the upper half of the conscientious segment of the population, or you can make it the upper third or the upper 2/3, I believe that many of these the majority of these would concur in that first moral principle that we do have an obligation to use our brains to try to understand things and to solve them.
But what kind of obligation is this? This is an obligation that grows out of your faith in what the rational structure of learning and a moral imperative that you decoct from your knowledge of the human mission, or what? For instance, suppose I had, facing, without any sense of moral reservation, a starvation in Central Africa. And I figure that the really most beneficial solution in terms of human suffering would be to reduce the population by 50%. I thinking, let's say, as a moral robot. And I could feed those data into any machine, and that machine said, look, it's much less painful to die of a bullet wound than to die protractedly from starvation over a period of a couple of years. What is to keep me from simply proceeding with this sort of Benthamite principle, unless there's a thing called human life, to which one doesn't do certain things?
So he doesn't actually say Hitler, but he's basically evoking the same. It's the same argument. Well, if you start to make these kinds of decisions, inevitably it leads to genocide. Inevitably it leads to genocide. You're being a moral robot. You're looking at the problem as, like the example he gives is, if you look at Africa and you see all these starving people, and you're a moral robot. You might determine that, well, we could feed half of these people, we can't feed all of them, and so let's just go and put a bullet in half of their heads, and then we can feed all of them. And then, that seems like the most humane thing to do, right? To go and kill half of them. And it's an absurd proposal, because we shouldn't, it's fucking Africa, just let it happen. Why do we have to go there in the first place? It's that kind of fucking thinking that gets us into these fucking problems. But the other side of it, it's an absurdity.
Well, one has to get to two other moral principles before I can put this in perspective. But in regard to your hypothetical discussion, I would like to introduce a little thinking I did about that, which shows how hard it is sometimes to start from what would seem to be sensible premises and work on to logical conclusions. One finds that there may well be a reductio ad absurdum aspect of it. And I'd like to talk about the objective of mankind, to produce the most happiness for the most.
This is an objective.
Let's take that as an objective. I want to say...
As universally accepted objective?
Well, I just want to deal with that as a piece of logical development.
Why?
Well, one reason is...
How is it related to intelligence? Let's get more direct.
Well, it's related to the hypothetical experiment you were talking about in Africa, you see. And furthermore, it's shown on these elegant charts, which I seldom have an equally good occasion to show, Mr. Buckley. And what this shows is an experiment done at Caltech. I think the man was Olds. It occurred in about 1956. And what Olds found was if he implanted an electrode in the proper place in the brain of a rat, it gave the rat some great satisfaction if a signal was fed into that electrode. It was hitting some kind of pleasure center. And in fact, if the rat was given his choice of eating some cheese or pulling the lever, he would become emaciated because he would spend his time pulling the lever rather than eating the cheese. Now this suggests if one can produce something of deep satisfaction, one might also be able electrically to make measurements of it. And if one could make measurements of it, then one might be able to measure the amount of happiness, and then it might become meaningful to try to optimize it. Now the natural way to try to optimize this for the first step, the most happiness for the most, is shown in this one. And here you see the world population explosion, the limitations of geography have been taken care of by growing brains in vitro.
So it's hard to see the graphic, but and especially if you're just listening, I'll describe it. He's basically, which is kind of funny because again, this is early 1970s. He's describing the Matrix. He's saying that you know, the reason why what you're proposing is an absurdity is you're saying that because I care about happiness, because I want to reduce human suffering, then like a machine, I would go around and just, you know, mindlessly in a linear way, that's all I would do without any other consideration. And I'm gonna point out the absurdity of what you're saying by describing another absurdity, which is that we have experiments that show that a rat in a cage with electrodes hooked up to its brain that activate the pleasure centers of his brain will actually starve to death because it'll just want to hit the dopamine button rather than eat and drink to stay alive. And so if that's all happiness is dopamine, which clearly, you know, this rat is demonstrating that it is, then why not, to maximize happiness as I want to do? I mean, I'll use another absurd example. Why don't we just grow brains in jars and have them hooked up to electrodes and trick them into thinking they're having a fulfilling life, and then they'll all go to the grave, you know, that, you know, they'll all expire, however a brain in a jar will live, thinking they had the most wonderful life, just like, you know, in the Matrix, right? They'll experience this fake existence, and it'll be painless, it'll be awesome, and that's absurd. Obviously, no human would think that that's a good idea, because ultimately it's not even achieving the set out goals. The goal is to actually optimize happiness and to optimize society. And I think it is a missed opportunity for, this is where it's not good enough to want to defend whites from dysgenics. You should want to actually propel whites into the future and promote the success of the white race and have them have a destiny that's worth defending and worth proselytizing, really, to the rest of the white race, and tell them, like, look, we are destined for big things. And hanging out in a...
Advertisers. Expand your reach and elevate your campaign performance with untapped audiences on Rumble Advertising Center. Reach a politically diverse audience, ready to engage. Access more buying power. 54% of Rumble's audience earns 100K plus, compared to 34% nationwide. Leverage premium inventory from top publishers, including Truth Social. Go beyond the mainstream. Reach premium audiences with Rumble Advertising Center.
In a jar or in a pod eating bugs, or, you know, with a VR headset on. I mean, that's not it. That's not it.
And there's one here that is in need of a little bit of remedial action. But you can see that under these circumstances, the happiness meter is reading very high. So this might be a way of producing the most happiness for the most. Ideal lives could be programmed by the computer and respond to the variations and the statistical fluctuations of the brain so as to give a suitable balance between the painful things and the pleasant things, so that the overall effect would be those brains would say, we lived a good life. Now, one can go even further as a result.
Just to give me this is what you are describing is a graphic depiction of something that you approve of?
No, this tells Mr. Buckley
is
why
this
I
a
think one
fantasy
can
or
deal
what?
constructively with questions like the one you were asking about what about killing, setting up a program to kill half the people in Africa.
Yeah.
I think we should, you see, I set up an even wider thing, and I say this leads me to an absurdity.
Ah, yes, the thick-headed Buckley acting like he doesn't understand what he's talking about. Oh, are you saying that you want to be a brain in a jar? Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. It's like, try to keep up. Try to keep up! So he likes, he busts out, he likes writing on manila envelopes, and, you know, it's very autistic of him. So he writes dysgenics again and starts explaining dysgenics.
Retrogressive evolution. You can't have anti-evolution. I tried to do that, but I was set straight by one of my strongest backers in the National Academy of Sciences, Ralph Cheney, the man who was for many years president of the Save the Red League and who brought the Dawn Redwood to this country. But he said it can't be anti-evolutionary, it's got to evolve, but it can be retrogressive evolution. So dysgenics is retrogressive evolution through the disproportionate reproduction, the excessive reproduction of the genetically disadvantaged. And that's what our nobly intended welfare programs may be doing, what some of our modern medicine is doing. They're just not facing the quality problems of mankind, and this may produce large amounts of human agony. And what my emphasis is upon anti-dysgenics.
So that's basically the way he phrases his mission in life, is that he's anti-dysgenics, that he fears for the future of, I don't think, he might not have ever explicitly in his writings at least said white people, but the implication is clear that that's what he means. That he's fearful of the destiny and the future of Western civilization, and especially as we take on these low IQ people that are going to just be a drain on our societies. They're going to bring us down, and you know, look, we're living it now, right? So it's not like I have to explain it.
There is, first of all, the quantitative problem. A lot of people say, seem to be agreed, you got to have less people in India. You got to have less people in Latin America, right? And then every now and then you get the little vibration to say careful, because if we send birth control information to Latin America or birth control information to India or Africa, they'll think it's racist. They'll think it's because we want fewer Indians instead of fewer white people.
Now, I found this fascinating because does that mean that birth control means that they want fewer white people? He makes the observation, you gotta remember this, at the time, there was not birth control readily available in places like India, South America, or Africa, and that there was a big push to export birth control to those places, especially for people that were eugenicists who worried about that not only were these populations exploding within white countries, but within their own countries, and that white people as a world population versus the non-whites was our share of the population was shrinking every year at an alarming rate, partially because white people did have birth control and impulse control, and it was a touchy subject, because if you wanted to export birth control to India, to Africa, to South America, there was this implication you wanted fewer of those people. Well, then de facto that means that the birth control in white countries means that the developers of birth control, Jews by the way, wanted fewer white people. Right? If that's the conclusion that you're going to jump to, that offering birth control solutions to these other populations means you want fewer of those people, then necessarily that means that the promotion of birth control in white countries was an effort to have fewer white people. So I just thought that was a nice little fucking nugget to have in there.
Is your concern quantitative as regards the projected failure of the North American continent to look after the number of people who are going to be bred according to the existing system? Or is your concern a qualitative one, that says, no, I, Dr. Shockley, don't worry about our capacity to feed 250 million people or 300 million people in the next 100 years. I worry that the percentage of those who are dumb is going to be perilously great. Which of the two are you worried about?
I worry about the resultant human misery across the board. And one of the group which is neglected, which people are unwilling to look at, is that there are certain areas in this country, certain small pockets, and some of these we can find information on, in which some of the most genetically disadvantaged are multiplying the most rapidly. And this is the focus in which I put, and the thing that I...
So this is where he brings up his graphic that he brought up in the previous interview. The reason why I left it up, his explanation in the previous interview, is Buckley does not, shuts this down. He shuts it down, and that's the chart where he discusses the black birth rates among low IQ blacks being about 4 times that of high IQ blacks, and also the birth rate of low IQ whites being higher than high IQ whites, although not as dramatic of a difference. And Buckley first pretends he doesn't understand it, tries to change the subject, because it's a real simple data point. It's something that should be easy for everyone to understand. It's something that everyone, even if you're not like someone who's prepared to admit out loud that somehow intelligence is largely defined by your genetics, or that these genetics would be would play a significant role in the disparities between whites and blacks in American society. Even if you're not willing to say that out loud, everyone on some basic level understands that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And if you start saying that, the worst kind of blacks, like the really poor blacks, they're having 5 to 6 kids per woman. And the ones that graduate college, like the ones that you're all excited about, the ones that, after watching that professor in the previous interview, the DEI graduate, right? Really, I mean, they're not they're outliers, I guess, but they're not exactly the cream of the crop either. They're not even reproducing at replacement levels. That's something that people can understand. People can look at that and understand it. And they can also look at the white statistics and realize, well, wait, just generally blacks are having more kids. You're having the whites that are high IQ are barely at replacement level, and even the ones that are low IQ are just barely above replacement level, whereas blacks are over twice replacement level. And so he tries to shut it down and act stupid, and
Rumble Wallet just changed the creator economy.
Kind of a game changer. It's big news.
Tip your favorite creators in crypto.
They can get it right now.
Thank you, guys.
So much.
Empowering voices, enabling transactions. Rumble Wallet, built to empower the creator economy.
He does a little dance.
I add on to this, and which is so seldom do I have a chance to say, and so I do appreciate being on this program and having a chance to say this. The thing is that my chief focus, the one thing I'm drawing out, is that it's irresponsible to fail to look at the types of lies that some of those whom are do-gooders, are wishful thinkers, I call them berserk humanisms. I think their humanism has gone so far that in effect it has gone berserk. And this is the illustration of it. This is the chart I tried so hard to get on CBS program. And at a disruption at the University of Georgia, I held the chart up. Many people saw the chart, but neither on that news nor on the 60-minute hour later did a single word I said about that chart get put on the program. What this shows is, this is Census Bureau data. The highest birth rate I found tabulated in the Census Bureau data, children ever born for a woman, and certainly take a certain standardized age range to look at. She's essentially through her childbearing period. The highest number I found was for rural farm black women, and this was 5.4 children. On the other hand, black college graduates average 1.9 women college graduates. That is then, if these abilities to learn and so on do have a significant hereditary aspect, This implies a pronounced dysgenic effect. This segment of the population would double in about a generation, and this would gradually die away.
But now,
the effect is much less for whites.
Wait a minute. It depends on the movement from one side of the line to the other. Did you look up the figures for 20 years ago? The fact of the matter is that there are more Negro college graduates as a percentage of the population now in America than there are white people in England. Now, the fact of the matter is that there is this movement from here to here, and under the circumstances, necessarily, it's going to affect that graph 10 years from now. Why don't you give us a graph rather than a discrete excerpt?
Well, this is the simplest one to...
Well, it's not simplest one. It's terribly misleading. You don't want something that's misleading, do you?
No, not at all.
I really don't think we'll see what that proves. If you're saying,
well,
look,
you believe that
if you're saying that poorer people, that there are more black poor people than white poor people as a percentage, the answer is you're correct. But it's also correct that in the last 10 years there have been drastic movement in the other direction.
And it's again, it's an indulgence in this fantasy that the fantasy that Dr. Shockley opened up with, saying that, you know, we have berserker humanists. We have these people that they're in their desire to be altruistic and provide all these social programs and welfare and you know, just endless resources stripped away from the productive members of society and given to the lower classes in this fantasy world that this utopian world they believe in, where everyone's going to start performing at the same level because it's all socioeconomic and whatever. That they ignore the fact that it's having the opposite effect. It's having the opposite effect. It's basically giving opportunities for reproduction for the lowest of the low in your society by sacrificing reproductive opportunities of the highest of your society, because you're taking from the people that you want reproducing. You're taking money, food out of their children's mouths, and you're shoving it into the mouths of these welfare queens who are, as a result, having more kids and just making the problem worse. And Buckley's acting like he doesn't get it. That, like, oh no, there's more. Well, what about the more? There's more. Like, that's irrelevant that there's more black graduates. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if there's more black college graduates. What he's saying doesn't change what he's saying. And Buckley's smart enough to know that. He's just trying to, again, for the same reason Shockley mentioned that CBS News didn't want to air the graph, for the same reason that he's had trouble showing it in the past. Like I said, they allowed him to show it in that Black Talk or whatever that show was called. I think just because it was so low key. Buckley has to play gatekeeper and keep white people thinking that no, this is a temporary problem. Black people are going to get smarter. We give enough of your money to them, and they'll start becoming college graduates, and it's racist skin deep.
You find no interest in this, nothing to worry about
well,
at all.
Well, you're here. I'm interested in lots of people.
But it seems to me, I'm really surprised at this, Mr. Buckley, because it seems to me this is waving clearly a warning flag.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Well, look, in the first place, in terms
let's
of...
deal with one of our basic postulates before we go on. Let's find out if we have a common basis on this at all to reason. And that basis is whether or not such things as mental traits, some of these behavioral traits, are significantly controlled by genes, or if they're entirely controlled by environments.
I think everybody...
That's the fundamental one that I've tried to bring up to the National Academy of Sciences.
Most people agree that they are significantly controlled by genes.
Now, this is a difference between then and now. Is now they won't even admit that. They will not admit that behavior or outcomes, or intelligence, or anything is controlled by genes. Why? Because we understand genes better. And we understand that the impact is actually, nowadays we realize it's even more profound than what we thought it was back in the 1970s. And so if they were to admit that, yeah, actually it's genetics, and that's the other thing too, is the average person has even though it's superficial though it might be, have a better understanding of what even genetics are. And so if the cat gets out of the bag that, hey, intelligence is largely genetic, all of a sudden, all these things that you're meant to blame on white supremacy or on socioeconomic stuff and you know, racism, blah, 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 all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh no, it's explained by genetics. Because again, I think the average person, at least, again, it might be a shallow understanding, but they understand enough to where if you made that a popular or acceptable, rather, talking point, then, you know, basically everything that the non-whites use as a blunt object to bludgeon us with would go away. All of a sudden, literally nothing they say would make any sense. And guess what? A lot of white people would suddenly start rethinking their white guilt. A lot of white people would start going, well, this isn't going to get better then you're just stealing my money for nothing. You will never get the outcome that you're advertising to me. You know, you keep telling me that the reason why you're stealing from me is that eventually the neighborhood's going to be safer, that these animals that make life dangerous for me and my family are going to eventually, they'll turn into the fucking Cosbys or whatever. Well, I guess we can't use that example anymore. But now I understand that it's genetic, that you can't cure it with my money. And if I care about solving this problem, and obviously to some degree I have to because I've allowed you to steal so much fucking money from me, we might start talking about other solutions.
But I think that we should come back to this basic question. You have conceded, but not in a way that would be informative to anyone listening to this program, as to what may be the relative importance of genes and environment.
Well,
now, there is a very precise one here, in which I say there is the most profound, as I've used it in something I've written. I regard this failure of intellectual responsibility as being the most grievous dereliction of scientific responsibility in the history of science, and I'm then talking about the National Academy of Science.
Rumble Cloud, your freedom, our promise. Break free from big tech's grip with a cloud service that champions your right to innovate. No vendor lock-in, no hidden fees, just transparent, predictable pricing. Trust a company that supports a free and open internet, ensuring your business thrives. Embrace true digital independence. Rumble Cloud, your cloud, your freedom. Sign up today at rumble.cloud.
Well, I know what they said about you, which was very unpleasant, and I think they use very harsh and, if I may say so, unscientific language. And there I'm on your side simply as a fellow human being.
Yeah, so he's basically saying that the greatest dereliction of duty from the scientific community is the cover-up, basically, of these facts, the obscuring of this information. And by the way, what do you think, if you had to guess, who do you think are what kind of last names do you think that the people that were doing this have? Perhaps do they end with Berg and Stein? Most likely a lot of them, yes. So basically what he's saying is the Jews that have hijacked, I mean, he doesn't say this explicitly, obviously, but the Jews that hijacked academia post-World War II, you know, and it's funny because conservatives always talk about, oh, the Frankfurt School, without like saying, yeah, you mean the Jews? The Jews that came here? The Jews that Hitler warned you about? Like, that's literally who, that came from Frankfurt fleeing Hitler? You mean the Jews? That Hitler was like, these people are ruining Germany? And you said, come on in. Haven't you seen our giant statue that says, bring us your trash? Yeah, come on in. Come on in and be parasites here. Come fuck things up for us. It'll be great. Yeah, so those people took over academia, and when in the past white people had new discoveries, maybe there was controversy, maybe there was problems with what the scientific discoveries conflicting with what was religiously understood at the time. And I'm not saying we have a perfect track record for the pursuit of truth, but for fuck's sake, if any race on earth has pursued truth, it's been white people. And yet the Jews covered it up. They covered it up because it made all of their strategies ineffective. And look, the white people that went along with it, because there were lots of white people that went along with it, including this fuck right here, right? Dereliction of duty. On a level that is impossible to overstate. Had white people been armed with this information that we had, that scientifically that we had and have today, which is why I'm doing this stream. If white people had this knowledge, were equipped with this knowledge, so many of the problems that we are still having to deal with today, we would at least be on our way to a solution.
But you have something else in mind. You seem to take a certain pleasure, don't you, out of saying that black skin carries with it a congenital disadvantage.
Oh, you take pleasure in saying that black skin, of course, because that's all it is, right? Race is it's just skin. That black skin carries with it a disadvantage. You seem to relish in the idea that blacks are inferior. Notice how he's not even arguing the statistics, or arguing that there is an inferiority, depending on how you define it, with blacks. That he's not arguing the IQ differences. He's trying to do character assassination. He's trying to kill the messenger. He's like, oh, you seem excited about it.
I don't get pleasure out of this, Mr. Buckley, nor do I get pleasure out of the way you're dealing with this matter. And I think it's evasive. I think that...
I didn't mean you to take pleasure out of the way I'm dealing with this matter.
Well,
I'm disagreeing with you.
You're disagreeing with me, but it doesn't seem to me you're disagreeing with sufficient substance that's warranted by this program. Now, first of all, you did say you should look at these things in perspective, and I can fish in this pile, but I think maybe it's not necessary to say one of the things that worried me about this in 1960...
you can retire that if you want, because I think it might distract people. I think
Well, I think they
all
probably
will have memorized those figures by now.
Yes, please put that chart down. This guy's very well spoken, though. And that was some fucking ownage right there on his own fucking show.
The thing that alerted me in one aspect of this was the very disconcerting study from the Surgeon General's reports on the health of the Army in 1966, I think was the year. Each year, the Surgeon General's office gets out a report showing how many draftees have failed their mental tests, how many fall into various categories of mental ability, and how many fail medical tests. And what this showed was, when I examined the data and looked at it, was that the overlap, as it's called, for the black inductees had fallen to about 6.5 or 7%. What that means is that only 6.5 or 7% of the black inductees in that particular year exceeded the white median performance. I found in Audrey Shuey's book the most extensive...
Now, just to restate that, what he's saying is... another way of putting it would be the military I think he's referring to McNamara's morons, but the military had to like lower its standards during Vietnam because they killed too many of the smart people. Basically, is what happened. They sent too many smart people off to go fucking die in the jungle, and they were running out of smart people, and so they had. Then again, it was another dysgenic selection pressure that was applied to American whites. So they had to lower the bar in accepting recruits, or I guess draftees. And what he found was only, or what the government found, that only 6% of the blacks that were being brought in to go die in the jungle along with the whites, only 6% of them scored higher than the median white. So in other words, only 6% of them were above the average white. I want you to ruminate on that for a moment, and how that might explain disparities in outcomes for blacks and whites in America. Only 6% scored above the average white. But that's not even the scary part.
I found in Audrey Shuey's book, the most extensive book on studies of IQ tests of blacks compared to white, an enormous compendium. She'd made it her sort of her life work before she became emeritus a few years ago. I found in that a reference to a World War I study in which this overlap was about 13%. That is, almost twice as many then were exceeding the white median. I was going to give a talk at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco.
Now, what is the meaning of this?
What is the meaning of this? It's gotten worse. The meaning of this is that if you think that your little utopian future where all of a sudden blacks are going to assimilate and we're all going to fucking hold hands and kumbaya fucking ya, it's going the opposite direction than what you think or what you're hoping for. The meaning of this is during World War I, while that disparity was almost twice in favor of the blacks, meaning that instead of 6%...
Advertisers. Expand your reach and elevate your campaign performance with untapped audiences on Rumble Advertising Center. Reach a politically diverse audience, ready to engage. Access more buying power. 54% of Rumble's audience earns 100K plus, compared to 34% nationwide. Leverage premium inventory from top publishers, including Truth Social. Go beyond the mainstream. Reach premium audiences with Rumble Advertising Center.
Of the black people going into the military, only 6% scoring higher than the average white, 13% scored higher than the average white. And so we're going backwards. We're going in the opposite direction. This is literally dysgenics. Black people used to be a lot stupider than whites, and now they're like a lot stupider than whites. Is what that means. And again, I know he's not that dumb. He's pretending. He's just pretending. I don't get it. Why are you saying this? How is that relevant?
If you looked at the mental classifications on this, what you found was that they fell into a systematic distribution, and this systematic distribution showed a.
Also, look at him like nervously chewing on his pen. He knows he's out of his depth. This guy invented the transistor. Your television show is only possible because of this man. Show some fucking respect.
Distribution, and this systematic distribution showed a drift downwards. Here actually is the chart, which I've got arranged so I can find it without too much trouble. And I don't expect people to understand the axes, but I want them simply to realize that here is one line which represents the blacks. This is another line which represents the white performance on these tests. And I'm simply saying the data is systematic. You see it for the divisions into first, second, third, fourth, and fifth mental groups in the test. The percentages fall in a systematic line, not quite straight for both groups, so that you can conclude there is something orderly in this, and this orderliness
But I don't see any movement. They seem more or less equidistant all the way down the line.
Because it's not movement, you dumb fuck. Maybe he is this stupid. Maybe he is this stupid. This is a snapshot in time, you fucking buffoon.
Well, this movement, this is all at one time, Mr. Buckley, and the fact that they are approximately equidistant has a deeper significance, which is that in both cases, it is as if whatever was being measured is normally distributed and is simply differs in an offset. And that I find also at the present time on income distributions for blacks and whites. It's a very striking thing there.
Yeah, Christopher Jenkins.
But I wanted to go back, though. The time scale on this is not shown on this chart, but I'm saying where the offset was 7% then in 1966, there is data that it was about 13% in the form of one mention of that type of study in Audrey Shuey's book.
So it's getting worse. It's getting worse.
People are getting dumber and dumber.
Certain segments may be getting dumber and dumber, and
no,
those
but
segments.
that's people. Let's use the gross figure.
Well,
if X and Y are people, Y being the bright and X being the dumb, and X is multiplying faster than Y, then people are getting dumber, right?
I don't see race. Let's just talk about. I don't want to know. I don't want to know that black people specifically are getting extra dumb. Let's just talk about people. Don't tell me, even though you've got the data, don't tell me that, yeah, well, everyone is getting dumber, but black people are really getting dumber. Let's just lump them all together. I want less information, less specificity.
The average
statement is of inadequate precision for this, Mr. Buckley. The point is, if certain segments of the population are increasing in percentage of the populations very significantly, and those more or less definable segments are getting substantially dumber, then that should be a matter of concern that should not be avoided simply by saying you are talking about people.
Okay,
let's. Yeah, see, there's a reason why you need that specificity or precision, as he says, because if you don't break it up by group, then you can't couple that with the information that a certain group is growing in population. So if you have one group that is simultaneously getting dumber while increasing their share of the population, you need to know that. This is why it's important to have racial data. This is why it's something they're trying to hide now. This is why so many people, so many non-whites are being incarcerated and then being listed as white on their arrest report. Because they have to hide it. They have to hide it. Otherwise, you'll come to the same conclusions that Dr. Shockley has.
Now let's project the situation 100 years from now. So all the black people and all
that, Mr. Buckley. But you may ask the question, but I will tell you. My time scale is 35 years, and I'll tell you why. But if you ask me what's going to happen a century from now, I'm not going to bother to answer. The reason I pick that is that's about a generation and a half. You see. And anything that happens now can really affect probably only the children that are being born within the next 10 or 20 years, you see, affecting that attitude. And beyond that time, I'm not going to be here to have anything to do with that. Hitler set up this program of 1,000-year Reich, you see, and he didn't last even as long as my life expectancy is now.
Oh, you mentioned Hitler. Oh, bad. So now we get this fucking dream team. They get to ask some questions. These fucking ugh. You know. Anyway. I think this is where we go with it, right? Oh, not yet, not yet. Get ready for these guys.
What I want to talk about is these children.
Yeah.
They come into the world, they may come in a miserable environment.
But he reiterates the same point that I made before, that if you have these people and you're dishonest with them, you tell them that, oh no Tyrone, if you work hard in school you could be president. When he can't. He can't. Motherfucker can't even be a manager at McDonald's. He can't. He can't. In fact, you wait much longer, and we're going to have a lot of these people who really can't do anything that robots aren't already doing. So, if you're not honest with these people, and honest with the other people who are subsidizing them, inevitably you're going to have to come up with these insane conspiracy theories about white supremacy and everything else to explain the differences. And it's not, obviously it's not fair to us, but it's not even fair to them.
What I want to talk about is these children.
Yeah.
They come into the world, they may come in a miserable environment, they may be trapped in it, they may be unable to get out of it because they don't have the genetic constitution to do this, the power to deal in a competitive way with the situation as it arises. And as a consequence of this, in effect, they're genetically enslaved there. And they're stuck. Now then, even if the number of children that come in are reduced by a factor of 10, I think it's too bad for each and every one of those children, and that we should look at. And we should analyze this, and we should study it. We should use the brain of man to try to find out whether the sorts of things I'm worrying about are going on, and whether they do have significant genetic aspects.
I think this is a very significant concession of yours. If I understand you correctly, it would entitle me to say that only a comprehensive program designed to eliminate progeny from people whose progeny are thus genetically affected would satisfy Dr. Shockley. And this, therefore, deprives you of the cover of any concern for the macro figures and ends you up saying, I, Dr. Shockley, believe that people with an IQ of 80 cannot achieve the happiness of people with an IQ of 120, which A, I deny, and B, I also say, I'm not all that certain that people with an IQ of 80 are less useful than people with an IQ of 120.
You're literally Hitler. You want to get rid of people that have low IQs? And then Buckley says that the asinine comment of, I'm not even certain that people with an 80 IQ are less useful. Really? You're not?
Technology leaders face rising cloud costs in today's digital marketplace. Big tech cloud consumption pricing models and bloated service packages result in unpredictable fees and overage charges. Dollars that should be funding your innovation, not your overhead. Rumble Cloud introduces fixed monthly pricing to deliver the predictability your business requires while ending the volatility of consumption-based pricing. Build the custom cloud services package your business needs, featuring a dedicated pool of resources built on premium, latest generation hardware. Your cloud, your way means you control your budget. Our customers save up to 75% off their previous cloud solutions when migrating to Rumble Cloud. Explore how Rumble Cloud delivers savings, predictability, and performance. Take control of your spending and gain peace of mind. Your cloud, your way.
You're not certain that people with an IQ of 80 are less useful than people with an IQ of 120? You're not certain of that? That's like a mystery to you? You can't be sure of that? I mean, look, I've already said that IQ's not everything, but I can be sure of that. I can be sure of there's so few instances and situations where the person with an 80 IQ will be more useful than a person with 120, where I feel comfortable saying, yeah, generally speaking, people with 80 IQ, generally speaking, are going to be less useful to a society than people with 120 IQ. I think that's a pretty safe bet. And for you to act as if that's not a safe bet shows you how disingenuous this motherfucker is.
Well, in terms of employment at the present time, I'm afraid that they are less useful in this country, and if you get down to 70 or 65, then the unemployment gets very large. And maybe you would not like what Herbert Hill, the NAACP's director of labor, said 2 separate years, which was the effect if things continue as they do now, almost an entire generation of black ghetto youth will be alienated, unemployed, in a situation entirely foreign to those existing in the United States. Now, your position may be, Mr. Buckley, and by the way, I don't agree with the position you put in my mouth in describing where I stood any more than I agreed with the things that you or Mr. Rusher put in your columns. And I would be glad, by the way, to furnish to any listener of this program who would write to me at Stanford University a copy of that exchange, because one of the things we were going to talk about, Mr. Buckley, was whether or not I could get your syndicate to distribute my column. You said we discussed that in this program. But that's another point. That, racism versus raceology, and now let's get back to this happiness, unhappiness business. We're leaving loose ends, you see. We're jumping around. I think we should go back and talk about the 80% geneticity, which is really the most definite thing. The control of genes by environment. If we could get that one where it was settled, we'd have a foundation on which we might be able to move solidly.
But you'll never be able to get them to admit that. You'll never get them to admit that the environment, while sure it has a difference, or it makes a difference in what your IQ is to some degree, it's rather minimal. It's rather minimal. And we have twin studies that prove it. We have twins separated at birth, raised in different environments, and the variability in IQ, while it does exist, is very minimal as compared to genetic effects, or causes rather. So anyway, this is when it's kind of funny. It's the 70s, but it's like the same fucking people, right? So now we got problem glasses. Yeah, we got problem glasses. It's the same fucking people. It's like it's the old version of the same person. Problem glasses. College girl wants to, the eternal white woman wants to get mad at the evil racist that works for the patriarchy.
Questions?
Yeah. Mr. Shockley, as Mr. Buckley's already pointed out, you tend to identify IQ as an indicator of intelligence, as an indicator of human worth, value. The word you used was usefulness, I guess, and happiness, And I think if there are other socially valuable traits that people have, like a tendency towards mutual aid and cooperation, even species solidarity. Kropotkin said that part of our biological heritage might be a tendency for species cooperation. Don't you think that maybe people should be tested for that and then sterilized or not sterilized, depending on how cooperative they are with the rest of the species?
So she's basically, and she's not, I don't think she's prepared for the answer here, but she's saying that, what you'll hear from a lot of lefties, well, IQ is not everything. If you're going to sterilize for people that have low IQs, then you should measure other things and sterilize for other things. And the answer he's about to give essentially is you're right. But IQ, that's the only thing we can agree on right now, that IQ is real, and not everyone even agrees with that. But you're right, we should be, if we could measure criminality, for example, right? If we had some kind of criminality index where we could somehow predict criminal behavior accurately with some kind of test or something like that, that might also be a standard that we would use.
Let's not say sterilized or not sterilized, but offered a bonus of varying amount, because mind you, this is a voluntary. No, you're making a very good point, and one with which I would not disagree with anything you said there.
I think my point was absurd.
What?
I think my point was absurd.
No, well, when you end up with the sterilization business, but as being able to measure human traits and finding out these things and then trying to use them widely, this has to do with my three-facet faith from man, of which I got through one phase, that perhaps that man has enough intelligence to deal with this one. The second one was he has enough humanism to make good use of it. And the third facet is that on programs like this, by communicating these things, maybe I can get the first two facets into action. But the difficulty with what you're proposing is that there are almost no other things, I know of no other human behavioral traits which are of comparable significance in terms of being clearly defined and controlled by genes, as is IQ. And there's maybe some things where you factor the IQ, which is a very important aspect of some parts of this, finding different components such as ability to visualize things in space, do what's called abstract reasoning and so on.
Or, have like an inner monologue, stuff like that. That'd probably be something I would offer a bonus for sterilization if you didn't have the ability to visualize things or have an inner monologue. So anyway, is this the next one? The next guy, when they do him, is. Ugh.
One extensive study done by Louis M. Terman at Stanford, the psychologist who added the word Stanford under the Stanford Binet test. Obviously an enthusiastic university type, because it's not the Terman Binet, it's the Stanford University, and it's and there's no école in the French version. It's Binet. But anyway, what he did was to follow these people for some 30 years, 40 years, until from being in essentially junior high or high school until they had raised families. And he studied their...
follow which people?
The Terman Gifted Group.
Yeah.
You undoubtedly know a number of them. You weren't in California, were you, Bill?
Oh, when?
Mr. Buckley, I beg your pardon.
Right.
You weren't in California when they picked them. You see, I'm in a very favored position on this because I am one of the 2 Nobel laureates whom Terman probably personally tested and missed. So the IQ test is far from a perfect measure. And one of the most ornery, least constructive groups I've ever talked to was the annual meeting of the Mensa Society in Los Angeles. So IQ is far from everything. But nevertheless, these gifted group outperformed the population in general across the board, and in some very human sorts of things, such as less problems with alcoholism, less of them ending up in jail, less divorces than the typical, I think, college group or maybe the population as a whole. So IQ is correlated positively, in my opinion, with things which other people would regard as being really meaningful measures of human quality.
So again, he's just reiterating that while IQ is imperfect, it's what we got. You know, it's what we got, and until we get something better, it's the only way we can really have these kinds of discussions in any kind of meaningful way. So yeah, now we get to this fucker. Could you look any, really? This is, I love this motherfucker. So, of course, and he's literally shaking. I hope it's in the clip I picked here, but when they zoom out, he starts rocking back and forth in his chair. He's so fucking mad. He fucking hates this guy so much. He's literally shaking. He's literally shaking, and of course he's outmatched intellectually, and it shows.
I don't think people realize how fast they can get better. I broke my right leg and I couldn't drive, so I had them rehab in a hurry. I would recommend therapy, this therapy, for anybody.
Mr. Paul Newcomb is the program director in social work at Mercyhurst College. Mr. Newcomb.
Thank you. Are you aware of studies that have shown that northern blacks have higher average IQs than southern whites? And if so, how would you explain only the smart ones move north? Or,
well, let me, this is,
yeah. How do you explain that, huh? Were you aware there was a study that showed that northern blacks were smarter than southern whites? Did all the smart blacks move north? I sound like a fucking muppet. Well, you'll like this answer.
The standard cliche business. I'm glad you asked that question because it comes up every time. And one particular thing I looked into myself was, again, one of these Surgeon General reports. I think it was 1968. And I found only one state in which the percent of the blacks failing the Armed Forces
Watch him rock. What, did you guys see him wiggling? See, look at the bottom of the screen. He's literally like rocking back and forth in his chair like,
1968. And I found only one state in which the percent of the blacks failing the Armed Forces qualification test was as low as the worst white state, and had there were only about a few hundred black inductees in that state, and as I recall, had 6 more failed it, there would have been no state in which the blacks did as well as the worst white state. Now, the other one has been, I happened to get into a discussion of that only last weekend. I have not looked up the paper. There's a paper written by Henry Garrett, I believe about somewhere in the late 40s, I think, maybe even 50s, in which he went over the work of Kleinberg, whom I believe is the finder of this, and the one who made this study to begin with, the one you quote, and found a number of methodological problems in it.
Oh, imagine that. Some Jew did a study. Look, he's seething. He's seething. Oh, he's so mad. He's so mad. Actually, you're full of shit, and I was ready for this because you fuckers always say this same bullshit every time.
Is there not a class bias built into IQ test, for example? What do you do when you cut your finger? You put a Band-Aid on it, it's the correct answer. Rubbing mud on it is the wrong answer, even though both work.
Anti-Semitism intensified.
Rubbing your finger in fucking mud is as good of an answer as getting a Band-Aid? First of all, no, it's not. Second of all, that's not the kind of question that's on the IQ test, you dumb fuck, and you should know that. Well, blacks score lower on the IQ test because they think that you rub your fucking finger in the mud if you cut it. Probably like the opposite thing that you should do. Like what? Anyway.
The answers to those questions which say the tests are so culturally biased that you can't tell anything about them this way, there are a number of answers to that, and one is, of course, to simply show a few tests, such as the group of the Cattell Culture
in
Fair.
his giant stacks of paper, he's got some of the test questions.
Fair tests, and ask why on something like this. You see, here are 4 diagrams, of which the 4th is missing. What's the next one going to be? What's the culture bias in that?
Yeah, what's that? How is that culturally biased? Most kids have taken an IQ test, like in school or something like that. So you guys know that it's pattern recognition. That's all it is. There's nothing culturally biased about, like, hey, look at this sequence of numbers. Look at these sequence of boxes and designs. Based on this sequence, what would be the next one in the sequence? It's not, hey, did you cut your finger and shove it in some fucking mud? You seething fucking Jew. Look at him, he's so fucking mad. He's just like, you're destroying all of our work.
Which leads me to the phrase that I haven't used before in respect to racial differences, which I try to say precisely the same way, and that is, my research leads me inescapably to the opinion that the major cause of the American Negro's intellectual and social deficits is hereditary and racially genetic in origin, and thus not remediable to major degrees by practical improvements in environment.
The seething Jew. So the Jew seethes and is upset that that this guy's, he knows his shit. He brought receipts, and this guy's not used to dealing with someone like that. So then we get the diversity student, who actually isn't that bad. Like, I'll be honest, she's not that bad. Like, she's not as bad as the Jew and the white chick.
Dr. Shockley, my question would be, how does one measure, if we're talking about intelligence, and it's usually been felt that the contributory factors are heredity, culture, and environment. Yours is strictly heredity.
No, not strictly, 80%.
Significantly hereditary. How does one isolate and measure the 3 different factors? Have there been any definitive studies which isolate the cause and effect of culture, and isolate the effect of environment and the interaction between the two?
Now, I'm going to answer before he does. just because I don't think I don't know why this isn't a point that would have been made back then, but I would answer that culture and environment are products of biology. So in effect, even if culture and environment played an even more significant role, which they don't, it would still be a product of biology, because biology is what is creating the culture and the environment. Right? Like, it's the same thing for animals, right? The nurturing that takes place in a bird's nest or in a beehive or in a bear's cave or whatever, right? Where's that coming from? Are they watching YouTube tutorials on how to raise their bear cubs? Are the bees reading books by Dr. Spock on how to raise their fucking young? Are the birds in the nests? Where's it coming from? It's instinct. It's coming from biology, right? Like that's where the environment and I guess the culture is coming from. It's all a product of biology, and in fact, that's why, or yet another reason why, you look at different countries with different people, and you see, as much as you see different people in these different locations, you see different cultures and different environments. The people are as different as the culture and the environment. In fact, what happens when you get white people and you put them somewhere else geographically? Well, wouldn't you know it? The same culture and environment is born in these new locations. An example would be, you look at Australia, right? You get